Okay, it is 6:30. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's regular city council meeting. We're going to call this meeting to order at 6:30. Would you join Mayor Pro Tem in please leading an invocation for us?
Yes, please stand, everyone. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this blessed evening, Lord. Thank you that we get to come together and work with the community members on making Canyon Lake an even better place than it is. And thank you for giving us a safe 4th of July. We were able to come together and fellowship with one another and celebrate this great country. Thank you that you provide us with so much to be thankful for, Lord. And in your name, amen.
Thank you. Tatum, are you around? Can you come help me lead the flag salute?
All right. Look at this stud.
All right, stand right there. Where we put our face the flag? Hands over our heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good job. Okay, Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dane.
Here.
Councilmember Green.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Welty.
Here.
Mayor Castillo.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, is there anything to report out of closed session?
Yes, Madam Mayor, on the item City of Canyon Lake versus Nancy Athey, settlement direction was given. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager, are there any changes to the agenda this evening?
No changes.
I need a motion and a second to approve the agenda, please.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Dane.
Aye.
Councilmember Green.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Welty.
Aye.
Mayor Castillo.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. We have a couple of ceremonial items on the agenda this evening. The first one is one of our former council members and past mayors, Mary Creighton, is moving out of state. She was a valued member of this community. We do have a certificate of recognition for her hard work and dedication to our community. Councilmember Welty is going to be attending her farewell and will be giving that to her on our behalf. Now I would like to introduce the Canyon Lake Little League AAA Rangers. Okay, guys, come on over. We have Jackson, Isa, Chase, Knox, Thomas, Dominic, Jacqueline, Cruz, Wesley, Sam, Catherine, and Tatum. Good game, you guys. Good job. Good job, good job, good job. Great work. Good job, good job. I'd like to introduce Coach Frega. He's going to kind of give us an overview of their season and the accomplishments of this group.
Good evening. So, here are your District 28 AAA champion Rangers for the 20. At the beginning of the season, we weren't even 100% sure if we were going to have a season due to all the shutdowns and whatnot. So we were able to. It was a shortened season as far as the length of time that we got to play. We had to get in, I believe it was 14 games to total on a regular season. We got that in within 8 weeks, I believe. They went undefeated, 14-0. And then they went to the championship, the Tournament of Champions, and they played 4 games, won 4 games straight, and they outscored all the winners from the 6 other cities that are within the district. They outscored them 58-22. Or no, I'm sorry. In the Tournament of Champions, it was 58-0. Overall, they scored 259 runs to 22 allowed. Our pitcher was awesome. Jackson Zagoni over here. He's the man. And their ages range from 7 years old to 11 years old.
Way to go, team.
Yeah. Congratulations, Rangers. We're super proud of them.
We are super proud. Information I have is that the other cities in the district included Menifee, Temecula, Temescal, Lake Elsinore, Murrieta, and Wildemar, and that they won every game by 10 runs or more and did not allow a single run to score in the entire tournament. Wow.
I want to say a special thanks to all the parents as well that, allowed the kids to come together and play together. Our coaching staff, our manager, Aaron Rupi, Joe Zagoni, and Kurt Aish, and myself. So we all practiced twice a week. We played 2 games a week, and it was just, it was tremendous. But these kids did it, and they played hard.
That's amazing. We selected you as our Citizen of the Month as a group because we're so proud of how you represented the city of Canyon Lake. And especially during a time when a lot of kids were kind of up in the air about sports, you came out and showed your commitment. And we are so proud of you. So thank you so much for coming tonight. Thank you for making Canyon Lake look really good. Great job. We have certificates for all of you, but can you hold up your banner so everyone can see it? And so I know the Canyon Lake Insider is here to take pictures. Do you want to get council in there, Anna?
Yes.
Is it okay if we go over
Yep,
there?
yep,
Okay, council,
absolutely.
let's jump in.
Yeah, the coach in there. Coach, come on. Come on, guys, the coach in there. Hey, we're part of it.
Thank you. Excuse me.
Man, you guys are good.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Coach.
Nice work.
Do we want to just give these to the coach or? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're hanging out, so do you want to?
Okay.
Coach, we're gonna give you the certificate so you can pass them out to your team.
One final thing, we are having a parade this Saturday at 9 a.m. It's a golf cart parade, and it leaves from the Eastport to go to Galtfield at 9 a.m. So if the community wants to cheer on the kids as they drive by, or if you want to take part and drive your golf cart in the parade, we welcome you.
Okay, thank you. Awesome. Great job, guys. Thank you. Thank you. All right, our next ceremonial agenda item is very, very cool. Prior to the passing of Councilmember Aaron Krantz, we established a City of Canyon Lake scholarship. And there were district scholarships already in place, but we felt like we wanted to make sure that we honored a Canyon Lake resident. And so we held a scholarship contest that included an essay contest. The winner receives a $1,500 scholarship. The contest rules for the essay were that they needed to be a high school senior and they must be a resident. They also, beyond the essay, had to submit a resume, which was really cool to see. The essays were 500 to 750 words in length, And the topic was, describe a unique challenge faced by local government as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Explain what you think local government did well in responding to this challenge and what could have been done differently. Lastly, what lessons can be taken from this experience and how can local government better respond to similar emergencies in the future? We were blown away by the submissions. Council member Aaron Krantz and I sat on the panel that would have reviewed the essays. Unfortunately, he passed away before he was able to read them. And so when we looked at the essays, we kind of kept in mind what Jordan would think was a good answer. And as a result, our recipient for our first scholarship is Sam Bach. Come on up, Sam. So, Sam, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of explain to the community what you wrote about. I would like to say it was super impressive, and as someone who reads written material all the time, I've seen attorneys not write as well as Sam Bach. So I was blown away and impressed with just your structure. It was organized, it was well written, it was well thought out, and honestly, it was amazing. So we're super proud of you. Can you kind of also tell us, beyond what you wrote about, what your plans are? Here, come on over.
Hello, everyone. Like she said, my name's Sam Bach. I've been a King Lake resident for around 10 years, and essentially, I wrote about how the pandemic shut down everything in a matter of days, and I felt that King Lake was very quick to respond. And looking back, it's a lot easier to see what we could have done differently. So King Lake at the time did an amazing job, and they shut down. They had stay-at-home orders. They made sure that everyone kind of was slowing down the spread. I would have actually, what I thought, looking back, a lot easier than at the time. I thought that maybe we could have had some virtual events going on, something called King Lake Cares. King Lake Cares would essentially bring a community together online through different virtual Zoom meetings. So there'll be games, there'll be information seminars on how to, stop the spread, or how to make most of your time at home while you're at home stuck all day. So while King Lake had a very tough job, I feel like in the end, we're at a point to where we're getting better now, and they did a great job. In the future, I think that we could have a text hotline where any citizen can sort of submit suggestions, comments, questions of things going on at the time, and when an attendant is available, they can respond. That way it's anonymous, or they can choose to share their name, and information can be easily spread in an effective manner. And thank you again, everyone, for awarding me this scholarship. I'm humbled that my essay was chosen. In the future, this fall, I'm going to Cal Poly SLO to study computer engineering, and I'm excited to come back and visit you guys.
Please take this to the bank and try to deposit it. You should take a picture. Congratulations, brother.
Yes. Michael's coming back in.
Well, good manners. Okay. We have a presentation by the city clerk.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So last month, our Mayor Pro Tem did not join us in person, but he had a birthday. So we didn't get to celebrate him properly, but today we do have a little cake for you here, and we just wanted to say happy birthday on behalf of staff. We hope you had a great trip. You were out of town, and so we hope you had a wonderful birthday.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
All right, we are moving into the community reports segment. I will remind everyone to keep your comments to 3 minutes each. We have a long agenda tonight. First, from the Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District, we typically have a update from Vice President Darcy Burke, but tonight we have a staff presentation. Come on up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. Thank you for having us here this evening. And thank you, Tyler, for running our slideshow for us. My name is Bonnie Woodrum. I'm with the Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District. Joining me tonight is District Director and Vice President Darcy Burke and Nelson Nuesca. He's the project manager about the project I've come here to talk with you this evening about. Next slide, please. A little bit about our district. We serve 157,000 people here in Southwest County, includes Canyon Lake. The water and sewer system here in Canyon Lake we acquired several decades ago, and EVMWD's commitment is to ensure safe, reliable, clean water and sewer service for you through those systems. The sewer pipes in some of the areas are aging and need to be improved, and that's why we're embarking on this project here in Canyon Lake. Next slide, please. Portions of the Canyon Lake system need to be rehabilitated to ensure ongoing reliability and capacity. During a recent inspection, EVMWD identified several segments that were in need of repair. And so we need to improve these systems to improve efficiency, reduce blockages that can cause overflows or backups in the system. Next slide, please. We are expecting to begin construction in September. It'll be about a six-month process. We will be rehabilitating about 3,300 linear feet of sewer pipeline during that time. Next slide, please. The neighborhoods that will be impacted by this work are Granite Dome Place, San Joaquin Drive West, Inspiration Point, Lighthouse Drive, and Lassen Drive. Next slide, please. We will be using trenchless technology to do these repairs. This is where we go into the existing pipeline and we can do the repair from the inside. So that'll minimize the impact on property owners. Although we do have some spot repairs that will have to be made, and those do require digging, we will notify anyone who that impacts well in advance. Next slide, please. As you may be aware, the sewer system in Canyon Lake was put in before the property lines were determined. And so, as you can see from this slide, those green lines on the slide, those would be representative of sewer mains that exist now. So you could see they go through backyards and side yards and front yards. And while this is an unusual circumstance, this is not unfamiliar to EVMWD. We actually did a project, you may recall, in 2018, where we did some repairs in this same way on San Joaquin Drive. At that time, we had Jill DeCrescio. She headed up our outreach. She will be back to assist us with the outreach, and she will be available to answer your questions during the project, and she will be helping us get the information out. Project impacts, again, we're beginning in September. 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. is the hours that we will be working. No outages, water outages are anticipated, but we may ask residents not to flush water for 6 to 8 hours at a time when we are working on segments in those neighborhoods. We do expect there will be some increased traffic. Next slide, please. And we don't expect there to be any interruption in resident access, but there may be detours or parking restrictions, that sort of thing. But again, we'll notify you well in advance. Next slide, please. So of course, we want to keep you connected. You've got a great director here with Director Burke. I know she keeps you posted on things regularly. And we will also ensure that we've got information on our social media accounts. We will be sending out construction alerts and mailed notices, and of course, we'll let the Friday Flyer know when we've got information to share. Next slide. And lastly, we're your project team. I'm Bonnie. As I mentioned, Jill, who's not with us this evening, but she is on the team, and also Nelson, who is our project engineer. We are available to answer questions throughout the process. There's our phone number, and then also our website, which we will update on a regular basis. And as we get closer to the project, we'll be more in touch with the individuals that this will impact. With that, I could take any questions.
Does anyone have questions? Go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
Question, is it going to be EVMWD crews that do the work, or are you contracting it out?
We have a contractor that will be assisting with that. And
Okay.
we will be working with the city to, keep them apprised of, or keep you all apprised of who that is working on the
Okay,
project.
thank you.
Sure thing.
I got a question.
Yes, please.
Darcy, you probably already thought of this. You know how the POA does a weekly email announcing anything that's taking place? Yeah. Yeah, I think that'll be good too, just because they do a good job of getting out to all the members, and this is phenomenal. So, busy day for our director. She had a coffee meet and greet this morning, and now she's here tonight. Canyon Lake's blessed to have such a transparent director giving us all this information, so thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure the POA has information to send out as well. Thank you. Thanks
Yes.
very much.
I learned about this today at your coffee. I'm one of the streets, so thank you. Good to know.
Great.
That's all right. I'm happy to have it fixed. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Next, we have Canyon Lake Property Owners Association update from President Joe Kamation. Welcome, President Kamation.
Thank you very much. I didn't see my name on the list right there, so I wasn't ready, but
That's okay.
Madam Mayor, Council, congratulations. Exciting time. I'm here for the Canyon Lake POA, Property Owners Association. I just want to kind of bring council up to date and the community. We had a wonderful 4th of July. I hope everyone else enjoyed it. The fireworks show was tremendous. And from what I understand, little to no incidents, so that's always a good thing. It's that time of year that we start thinking about the City Golf Championship. That's where we've partnered with the city, and we put on a golf tournament to declare the champion of Canyon Lake. We do it in multiple ways, in that we have a golf champion and we have a city team championship. And Larry, you instigated that, I think, about 3 years ago. And it's grown, and we've had 5 or 6 teams. As a matter of fact, our most recent champion is Canyon Lake. So congratulations, you guys. Put your trophies up for grabs this year. So I hope you'll
Greg on your team.
you'll have a good representation, and you'll help us solicit other cities to come and join the tournament. So it'll be a scramble. And there'll be more information out as time comes.
Do you have a date yet?
We do. It's October 2nd and 3rd.
Okay.
It's a 2-day tournament. Typically, we have the city team championship on one day, which is, I believe it was Sunday.
I think they had a Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, because of the reason Saturday was to get our cities that are adjacent to us to show up, because they didn't want to show up on Sunday, so we had it on a Saturday.
We'll accommodate whatever they want. But we also, in the partnership, the city has supported us with a $1,000 allowance for our tournament. It's been very helpful in our prize money and our event, and encouraging other people to come and play. So we thank you for that, and we ask you for that again for this year. Do you need anything written or formal?
I think an email would be okay. I think you typically send me an email and then it's budgeted for, so just shoot me an email and then we can go ahead and get the check cut.
Perfect, perfect. On some other POA news, Concerts at the Lodge is back. We're scheduled for our first concert this year, August 28th. Craig Campbell and there is the performer, and there'll be more concerts that are scheduled that will follow, so keep an eye out for those. Some POA board news from last night. the board approved or authorized the general manager to enter into a contract for Sierra Park. We're going to build a brand-new park out of an area that has been unimproved, and we're going to put the pump track in. So that's been approved and is moving forward. And I want to remind residents that Canyon Lake is a wonderful place to live. It's a wonderful place to vacation. So if any people are looking for a place to stay home and vacation, Canyon Lake's a great place to do that. We have a wonderful campground and that you can camp right on the water. Also, if you want to just enjoy the heat, get away from the heat, you can spend the day at the pool. So we encourage people to take advantage of those amenities and use those. So, and lastly, I just want to let everybody know that we have a website that you can stay connected with. And if you go to clpoa.com/notify-me, you can connect to the links and get on a list and be notified with all the POA update. With that, I thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Any questions?
I just want to give you a shout out. The city manager and I were talking about how you run a meeting, my friend. You do a very good job. Good job last night. You guys are doing some really good stuff. So
Thank you.
just want to say we appreciate you.
Well, thank you. That's very nice.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
All right, moving along. We next have the Chamber of Commerce update by President Jeannie Odell.
Thank you very much. That's kind of a tough act to follow, so I'll try and keep it brief with a little bit of humor. But first of all, the Chamber would like to congratulate Councilmember Dane on her appointment to the council and to the council for the selection. So I think it's going to be a great year for everybody. So to bring you into a little update of what we've been doing, we did complete our restaurant week, where we called it 7 Days to Savor, and we were very excited about the interaction with everybody that we had. We had over 230 entrants into our gift card drawing, and everybody has now received their gift cards, so they're all excited about being able to go spend some money at the restaurants. We will be attending, it's called the SoCal All Business Mixer, which is at the Paris Railroad Museum on July 15th. And once again, if the city would like the chamber to have anything at our table, please just let me know. We'll be glad to pick it up. We have scheduled a storm game with a tailgate for September 16th, and we'll be raffling off chances to throw out the first pitch, the first catch, the play ball announcement, and the 7th inning stretch, where you get to stand up there and sing. So if any of you are interested in singing, please let me know. We will be doing our Parade of Frights this year on October 23rd, so that's kind of exciting because we did have to cancel it last year to a lot of disappointment. So we will be scheduling that again. And then also, brand new, we're going to be looking at a market night sometime in November. So we have some city interest in that. So we will be working together on putting together a market night, kind of tied into a shop local kind of event. Our member events, we have a lot of details that will be announced over the next couple of weeks. We are partnering with one of our local establishments on a tequila tasting. We will be, I just saw a couple of smiles up there.
I'll be there.
We will be partnering with Daisy Dukes on a paint and sip that will be coming up. And we're also going to be having a presentation by Chief, and I know I'm going to murder his last name because my French is really bad. Chief
Latendresse.
Thank you. With him. So he's going to be doing a speaker event for us to kind of communicate with a lot of our business members as to what's going to be happening with the fire department. So we're excited to get that set up. I do want to announce that we have a new board member, Donna Ritchie, wherever she might be. She has agreed to be one of our ambassadors. So what better than that? So I put her on the spot here with that announcement. And then hopefully by next week, we're also going to have our director of sponsorship and donations filled, actively discussing that with somebody. So that'll be help because we really need that in place in order to move the chamber forward. A couple of miscellaneous updates. The chamber has been assisting the city with a survey regarding community interest in outdoor dining. And I'm not sure where Tyler went, but there he is back there. We've been having, I think, a decent response to that as well. I want to encourage everybody to look at your emails for our monthly newsletters that we put out announcing chamber information. excuse me, as well as make sure you do check our website and our event calendar, because we've been posting a lot of things there. So thank you very much.
Any questions?
President Odell, I just want to say thank you for bringing a smile to my face. It sounds like we're getting back to normal. We're going to have some fun.
We're gonna
So thank
try.
you. I appreciate that. That's good stuff happening in Canyon Lake. Appreciate it.
The chamber website and event calendar
Yeah.
is legit. It's updated, and I'm happy to see all the good things that we're doing.
We have posted the city council meetings and the committee meeting as well.
Yes.
So Tyler helped me out with the logo there, so it looks really good. So
We
thank you
appreciate
very-
it.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
nice-
you. Okay. We are moving on to our public safety update. First, we have from the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. Hi, Lieutenant, how are you?
Good.
Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, and staff. I have for you the public safety report for the month of July, which actually covers the month of June, our stats. Deputies responded to 394 calls for service, which is down 28 from 422 the month prior. During the month of June, there were 6 Part 1 crimes, and those were 3 aggravated assaults, 2 thefts, and 1 motor vehicle theft. Our deputies made 2 public intoxication arrests, wrote 3 traffic citations, made 2 DUI arrests, and investigated 3 traffic collisions. Overall, there were 11 arrests made by our deputies. In addition to the public intoxication and the DUI arrests, there were 4 for outstanding warrants and 2 for drug-related charges. And that covers the month of June. And I just gave you a quick one slide, which covers our stats for the 4th of July weekend, which is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We either generated or responded to 128 calls for service. Only 16 of those were fireworks. We had 2 arrests, 1 for DUI, 1 for public intoxication. And we had 2 citations and 3 traffic collisions on that weekend. 1 no injuries, 1 minor injuries, and 1 major injury traffic collision. So busy traffic weekend. So that's sure it's going to bump up our traffic collision stats for the month since the first weekend. But other than that, 4th of July weekend went great. Residents were awesome. It was actually a really positive weekend. Spent a lot of time with the community and took a lot of pictures and talked to a lot of people. We had a couple of small incidents, but nothing major. So hats off to the Canyon Lake for the awesome job they did. And security, terrific job with the POA. I had the radio, and we were dispatching back and forth and helping each other out. So it worked out great. So great weekend.
I heard you were walking around out there.
I was out
I
both
appreciate
days,
that.
Saturday and Sunday.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council?
I won. On the fireworks, is this just people calling the use of fireworks in?
Yes, these were calls that came into our dispatch, sheriff's dispatch. I'm sure there were a lot more that went into security. So they were responding to fireworks calls. We were responding to Sergeant.
Was there any
Wilson's fireworks
action
calls.
on that, such as citations or anything?
We had no citations.
Okay.
A lot of the fireworks, I was actually chasing a lot of them during the night, and it was hard to pinpoint where they were coming from.
Yeah.
I think quite a few of the calls were coming from the Quail Valley side, coming up over, and we were getting
Yeah.
calls for those. But I was surprised on how small amount of fireworks there actually were.
Okay. That's good, because we did a video, put it out, and we also tried to do a safety on the enforcement side of the fireworks and the fireworks ban in Riverside County and in the city of Canyon Lake.
It was posted at every gate coming in, so
Yeah,
if
so-
I saw it, everybody else did, I'm sure.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you, guys. It was a good show and a good 4th.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Was. Anyone else? No? Okay. Thank you so much. All right. CAL FIRE. Welcome. I have to.
Hello, Council, Mayor.
Hello.
My name is Jason Gumbert, representing CAL FIRE tonight. So the stats for Engine 60, it has been pretty busy lately. 68 calls for the month of June. 40 of those in the city were medical aids. They did go to 1 residential structure fire, 1 ring alarm, and 1 traffic collision in June. Let's see what else we have here. So total for Station 60 was 79 calls, so that's going to include the calls that Station 94 ran in and Station 5 from Quail Valley. So Engine 60, they ran into Lake Elsinore for medical aids 5 times. There was 1 multifamily dwelling fire, another miscellaneous fire, 1 public service assist, 1 residential structure fire, and they ran into the city of Menifee twice, both for public service and residential fire. Engine 60 ran into the county area 4 times for medical aids, 2 miscellaneous fires, 2 traffic collisions, and 1 wildland fire. The paramedics at Station 60, they rode into the hospital a total of 4 times with AMR. That's pretty much what I have for that. I can give you the stats for Station 94 and Station 5 for how many calls they ran into the city, if you guys like. Okay, yeah. Yeah, Station 94, they came in to service this side for 26 medical aids, and Station 5, Quail Valley, they came in a total of 5 times. So that's what I have for the stats, for the calls.
Yeah, you may.
From a fire response, how was the 4th for you guys?
It was really busy. I think it was the busiest day of the year so far. So I know Engine 60 was pretty much all over the place, from inside the city to Paris to Quail Valley to Lake Elsinore, back into the city. Most of the engines we didn't get done until around 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, just mainly firework calls.
Firework calls?
Mainly,
Yeah.
So
Did you guys cite anyone?
we didn't do any sighting. It was mainly either a small little spot fire or something, so we were just pretty much taking action on extinguishment and just going from one to the next. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great. Anyone, any questions?
No, we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay. On to code enforcement, Senior Code Enforcement Officer Ruby Manzano. Hi, Ruby.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. So for the month of June, I'm going to dive right into BLM. One of my favorites, no changes there. We've seen a decrease in vehicles. However, we're seeing a very high increase in dirt bikes and razors, an increase in illegal dumping. Fortunately, we have been able to take care of that, clean it up, and get it out of there. So nothing big, no bulky items. Our sign was vandalized again for the 4th time. We got that cleaned up yesterday. And great news on our short-term rentals. A couple of months ago, we were like at 25. We are down to 1 that has not complied. All of them have complied, and we've been monitoring them
That's
pretty actively.
phenomenal.
So
Thank you so
kind
much.
of excited for that one.
Seriously, good job.
Thank you. And we are now back to in-person inspections. So we have conducted 12 residential inspections that have all passed so far. We still have 120 pending scheduling inspections. Fire inspections, we send out a notice, a courtesy notice to our local businesses, just letting them know, and we will start those officially next week. That's it.
Any questions of council?
I have a question. Before you go out for inspection, do you give a kind of description of what you're going to be looking at in the homes, so they have an idea? Smoke detectors?
Yes, a lot of-
Battery strapping. So, I mean, we always like to police properly, but we like to effectively communicate what the expectations are. And I think your expectations are probably fairly basic, and I suspect we could communicate those out.
Yes, we actually sent out a massive email to all of them, and we explained what we were going to look for, just so they kind of get a little bit prepared for us. And, I mean, they've all passed, so. And as well as our fire inspections.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Ruby.
It sounds like we need to get a Can-Am or a Razor for our code enforcement.
AQMD money.
Yeah.
Okay, we are now moving into the public comment portion of the evening. Madam City Clerk, would you please read the public comment statement?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any person wishing to address the City Council on any matter within the jurisdiction of the city, whether or not it appears on this agenda, is asked to complete a speaker request form available on the back counter. The completed form is to be submitted to the City Clerk prior to an individual being heard by the City Council. The City Council has adopted a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. Please note that if you're addressing the City Council on items not on the agenda, the Brown Act does not allow discussion of such items. Therefore, the City Council may only do the following: refer the matter to staff, ask for additional information or request a report back, or give a very limited factual response. Members of the public who are joining us virtually are asked to submit their comment electronically by sending an email to publiccomment@canyonlakeca.gov. I will continue to accept email comments during this meeting in real time, but electronically submitted comments should be no more than 250 words and include the person's name and the agenda item number. However, these comments will not be read aloud. All comments received on a specific agenda item will be heard at the time that particular item is scheduled on the agenda. Okay, so I have several cards here. I have several cards for item 5. I have one card for item 6. I have a few cards that I need clarification on. Shelley Knight, are you commenting on a specific agenda item number, or? It's not on this agenda, it was on a previous meeting. Okay, thank you. Colin, is it a specific agenda item number, or is it? The cannabis, okay, perfect, item 5. And then Mr. John Zeitz, your card here says public comment for closed session, is that correct?
No, let's put it in front of everybody. Put it from the open session, I'm sorry.
Is it, so it's on a non-agenda item? Okay, thank you. So we're going to start with Vice President Burke. She actually had a brief update, which I told her she could give, and so she's going to use public comment and give her brief update, and then we'll move on to our comments.
Okay, and I just want to remind everyone, since we do have so many comment cards and we do have a long agenda, that I'm going to wield this very seriously and keep everyone on 3 minutes.
Yes, so 3 minutes.
So do not be offended, but follow the rules.
3 minutes, I have the timer, and then also just before you start your comment, I did receive 2 email comments, one from Anthony Rodriguez and the other from Cheryl Portwood. Those comments have been received, and they will be entered into the record. Okay, Vice President Burke, you may start.
Thank you. I just wanted to congratulate Councilmember Dane, and I also wanted to thank the council for doing that due diligence and have a great process, because we've now had a resignation for Division 3, and we're going to be looking at your process closely to see if we can replicate it, because I believed it was very transparent and allowed everybody to participate in the process. So thank you for going first. I also wanted to thank you for your support letter, reassuring and reaffirming our commitment to fiscal responsibility and our ability to provide safe and reliable water and sewer service. I also want to thank those in the community and you as stakeholders that participated in our public opinion survey. I actually read every single comment, and as painful as some of them were, we can't fix what we don't know is broken, so I appreciate those comments, and I appreciate the very frankness that they were delivered with. We are working with your city manager and the POA director to provide orientation for new city council members and POA directors, and we hope to have that scheduled, I would say, in the next 2 months. I think that's a fair statement, Chris. And then finally, I'm looking forward to scheduling our combined meeting with the POA, the city, and EVMWD sometime this fall. And hopefully that will allow our residents to come and share their concerns and also see how well we now all work together. That is all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Did she talk fast?
She did. Great timing.
Okay, so what's the time to beat? Just kidding.
What's the time?
All right, we're going to move on to Shelley Knight.
Okay. Welcome.
Welcome. Good evening. My name is Shelley Knight. I don't know if you need our tracking lot, 3716. I've lived in Canyon Lake for over 30 years. I've raised my kids here, and the reason why we moved here is because it's a quiet, serene community. I now have 2 grandchildren living here. We live here a pretty quiet life. I don't really get involved in any politics. We just pretty quiet. But the reason why I'm here tonight is to talk about the proposed project that was spoken about on May 5th meeting. During that meeting, there was a presentation done by a contractor, I believe it was WHA. They presented a conceptual design for a major facelift to our town center to include future housing with plus or minus 188 dwellings. In their proposal, they had 3 potential sites for 4 to 5 story high rises. Over here by the Canyon Cowboy, over by the Caldwell Banker Realty, and then over here by the Domino's Pizza area. When someone asked about the parking, there was no answer. They had no analytic work done whatsoever for parking. Their suggestion was we would just go underground. After the presentation was complete, you folks fielded a few questions and offered your opinions on the design. In my opinion, there was a very dangerous suggestion to go back, for them to go back to the drawing board and design a 10 to 15-story high-rise in our town center with a rooftop bar that we could see the lake. To give you an idea how tall that is, Pechanga Resort is 14 stories high. That suggestion gave no regard to the million-dollar homes that we have in the estates behind us and what it would do to their views. That suggestion gave no regards to the mobile estates and what it would do to their views. That suggestion gave no regard to our friendly neighbors in Canyon Hills and what it would do to their views. That suggestion gave no regard to the traffic that it would involve to have that type of family dwelling here. And that suggestion gave no regard to the visual impact that would be seen across the lake from San Joaquin, from Canyon Lake Drive, and to the main gate residents living down Continental. It would be the worst eyesore north of Temecula. I am in favor of responsible growth, but it should always maintain the character of our city. We have no sidewalks, we have no streetlights, and most of us travel to and from in golf carts. The idea of a 10 to 15-story high-rise is just not a good idea. We are not Huntington Beach, we're not Pacific Beach, we are not Orange County. I respectfully ask for you to squash this. It's a horrible idea.
Thank you.
Yeah.
John Zeitz.
Going to make it shorter than last month. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Yes. I hadn't intended to speak in public comments, but you made a comment earlier, and I had to, and it's about Mary Creighton. And I think the world of Mary Creighton, and unfortunately, we don't really recognize people who have done some things. The Chamber of Commerce gives the Person of the Year, and Students of the Year, and that kind of thing, Business of the Year. Mary Creighton has done a lot of things, and I just want to set out two things. She was very involved. You talked about last meeting about representing the city. She represented the city tremendously. In the League of Cities many years ago, because I'm ancient history, she was ancient history, that there was a flames, and you can get 3 flames by doing things with the League of Cities. She was one of 3 people that got the 3 flames, and Marty Gibson was another. And she also did something that people don't remember or recognize. She pushed, even though she wasn't on WRCOG, but she pushed the TUMP fees to get $9 million to do what we used to call Mary Creighton Highway, or the widening of Railroad Canyon Road. She was tremendous. She did everything to represent the community in the League of Cities, national, local, and I think a positive thing for you would be a great thing is to recognize her and give her the first award from Jordan Aaron Krantz. And I think, I'm going to get emotional, but I'm sorry. And I think a person like that deserves it, and that might set an example for where that should go. Thank you.
Thank you. Much appreciated. If I just may add, and we're not supposed to comment too much on this, but I do want to say that a lot of all of the council that is before you did not serve with Mary Creighton. So to hear that kind of input from the community is phenomenal, and we appreciate it. Consent calendar. Can you please read the consent calendar statement?
All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine matters, status reports, or documents covering previous city council action. The items listed on the consent calendar may be enacted in one motion. With the concurrence of the city council, a council member may request that an item be removed for further discussion. Staff recommends approval of all items.
Is there any council member who would like to pull a consent calendar item? Hearing none, I need a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar.
Motion to approve the consent.
Second.
I need a roll call vote.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Councilmember Green.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Welty.
Aye.
Mayor Castillo.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. We are now moving into the business items segment of the meeting. The first business item is an agreement with law enforcement services with the County of Riverside. I believe the city manager, our captain is here. Yes, this is our captain.
Yes.
Meet our captain.
Good evening.
So technically our police chief, right?
Yep.
That's right.
I wear many hats.
There you go.
So you're going to produce.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, City staff, members of the public. I come before you tonight to present the agreement of law enforcement services with the County of Riverside. Next slide, please. So currently, the agreement for law enforcement services between the City of Canyon Lake and the County of Riverside expired June 30th, 2016. Within that contract, there was a one-time auto renewal period, which just expired June 30th, 2021. Before you is a recommended new 5-year agreement commencing July 1st through June 30th of 2026. What that entails is a staffing level of 24 supported hours per day, which is equivalent to 5 deputy sheriffs. It preserves the City of Canyon Lake's ability to increase or decrease staffing levels, and it allows the city to terminate this agreement upon written notice within 12 months prior to the termination date. The fiscal impact is already budgeted within the city's annual budget. Next slide, please. Benefits of a contract law enforcement services with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. Public safety is an important investment that represents a significant portion of budgets. Independent police departments can be demanding, especially for smaller communities. The advantages include cost savings by shared personnel and resources. Those include management, supervision, administrative costs, facilities, vehicles, equipment, and training. Next slide, please. In addition to patrol, crime prevention, and volunteer services, communities who contract with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department receive the following services. These services are provided in support of law enforcement-related activities. Personnel considerations entail training and staff development, scheduling and attendance, performance evaluations, workers' compensation claims, labor relations and contract negotiations, grievance and disciplinary issues, citizens' complaints and internal affairs, Family Medical Leave Act requests, Fair Labor Standards Act concerns, hiring and termination, risk management and liability. Under the Administrative and Service Coordination, it provides a watch commander and 24-hour supervision, investigations, traffic bureau, public information officer, press and media relations, information and technology support, community relations, budget, finance, revenue, and payroll management, federal agency and task force coordination, capital improvement and building maintenance, grant and contract maintenance, or management, records and property management, equipment purchases and maintenance, including vehicles, firearms, tasers, body-worn cameras, and Public Safety Enterprise Corporation, insurance, repair, and fuel costs. Next slide. In addition, our Sheriff's Department has specialized units which are available to all our contract partners. They include the Major Crimes Bureau, which entails our Central Homicide Unit, Crime Analysis and Force Investigation Unit, our Media Information Bureau, our Special Enforcement Bureau, which includes our Aviation Unit, our Crisis Negotiation Team, our Dive Team, Emergency Services Team, Fugitive Warrant Enforcement Team, Hazardous Device Team, K-9 Team, our Off-Road Vehicle Enforcement, Emergency Response Team, and our Search and Rescue Team. Our Special Investigations Bureau includes our Gang Task Force and our Narcotics Task Force, which you have the benefit of the Southwest Corridor Task Force. Cal ID, Forensic Services, Information Services Bureau, Dispatch, our Regional Training Center, Recruiting, our Coroner Public Administrator, Corrections, Court Services, and our CCW unit for all residents. And with that, I will be happy to take any questions you may have.
I have questions. I noticed that you mentioned on there increasing or decreasing staffing levels. Can you elaborate on that? Obviously, this council is very interested in local control and how we can work within our means and our budgets.
Absolutely. So any increase to the 24-hour staffing can be done through an amendment of the contract. So if the city decided that they wanted to hire a dedicated traffic officer or a dedicated special enforcement team, or even a community service officer, that would be in addition to what the supported rate is. If you wanted more patrol deputies, so you wanted to increase the service hours, that is also an amendment and in addition to those services. In the contract, the city can request a 10% reduction for the 24 hours of service. So if there is a financial impact to the city, they can immediately request a 10% decrease of those 24 hours of supported services.
Okay. Does anyone have a follow-up question on that before I ask my other question? No? Okay. Something that this council discusses in Finance Committee all the time is restitution for costs that we are paying for people who are getting blood draws for DUIs, the analysis of those blood draws. We recently had bills for sexual assault examinations, which are $1,200 every single time. I know that when convictions occur, that booking fees are recovered. What can RSO do to assist us with restitution for those items? Because right now, the city is paying for criminal activity, and we're not really into it.
Right, so the sheriff's department doesn't cover those costs because those crimes are occurring within the city.
Right.
However, I did speak with the city manager on this issue, and there are measures that the city can take to recover those costs in restitution, as far as DUI collisions that occur and cause significant amount of staffing to handle those. Sexual assault cases where if there is a prosecution and a conviction, then there could be restitution that the city can request. Those are some of our other contract partners that have done that, to request that restitution. So it's not a consistent budgetary item that you always have to worry about when those incidents do occur.
Is that case by case?
It is case by case. There has to be a conviction on those cases in order to get restitution.
So, so let me ask you a question. When you guys incur cost in the unincorporated areas, do you do cost recovery?
So in incorporated areas, we do not do cost recovery because the majority of our DUI collisions are handled by the California Highway Patrol. So the only cost recovery that we incur, or there is no cost recovery, so the only costs that we have to pay for are the sexual assault cases and the blood draws for your suspected narcotics or alcohol abuse.
Okay.
Do you have I got a question.
Go ahead.
You mentioned there are a couple cities already actively trying to do this or currently doing this?
Yes.
Any in mind? I mean,
City of Norco.
Okay.
I can tell you right off the bat.
Have they been successful?
They have, especially in their DUI collisions, because DUI collisions do incur a lot of significant costs, and you can financially, as a city, go and recover some of those costs.
Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
I want to say thank you for the volunteer program. We've been wanting that for a long time. We didn't really see it materialize when we were assigned to the Paris station. Are you a volunteer yet? Okay. My last question for you was online reporting. That is something that I think would be really beneficial for this city. In the past, when we have asked about it, we were told we were in the queue. How do we get out of the queue?
As far as I know, that all the cities within the Lake Elsinore station are now on online reporting.
Can we do an infographic
So,
about this?
I will check into that for you, but I know for a fact, because Lake Elsinore City was the last one for me to get online reporting. And I was told that I've now completed my triangle, basically, within the area, so.
Because I feel like that would be very beneficial
It is, absolutely.
time-wise.
I have one other question.
Yes, you may go.
I have one question, and it's on additional resources that the sheriff requests. Obviously, you've got forensics and on-scene investigations and stuff. How is that costed back to the city?
So it's already built into the supported rate. So the supported rate that you contract with the sheriff's department, it's already built into that rate.
Okay, so if we have an incident, whether it's on the boulevard or inside, and we've got 7 units, is that built in our contract that those are all covered?
So the additional units that are assisting with the investigations outside of the major specialized units, that would be billed back to the city.
On an hourly basis?
Correct.
Okay.
So if you have just.
So we have one-
recently you had a significant traffic incident.
Yes.
Those costs would come back on the city for those resources that were out there doing the investigation.
And how does that come back to the city? Is it ID'd by the call, or does it come back as a pickup payment at the end of the quarter?
It's ID'd by the call and as far as the staff that are out there handling that investigation.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, we used to have DUI checkpoints every so often. I haven't seen one for a long time. I think there used to be outside funding that used to support those. We're getting a lot of accidents on this section of Railroad Canyon. I don't like to impose on the citizens, but it's, but we need to have safe streets. And the way the accidents are happening out there, some of it's pedestrian traffic too, but I was just wondering how is there grants available for that?
There is. Through the Office of Traffic Safety, they do have a DUI program. However, the city of Canyon Lake did not receive any monies this fiscal year. However, with the current incidents that had occurred, we will receive money next year for sure for those types of incidents for DUI enforcement.
Any other questions? I have one more question. Regarding the sexual assault exams, there are grants for us to recover those costs through that mechanism as well, correct?
I would have to research that. Maybe the city might be able to help me with that one, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Any other questions from council?
I got some positive stuff to say.
Okay.
We appreciate you guys, seriously. The change that has taken place in the last 15 months have been incredible. You guys are constantly patrolling the area. There's a presence. We know it. We see it. You guys are happy. Canyon Lakers have approached all of us here with just how happy we are with the Sheriff's Department and what you guys are doing, and there's just been a complete change, so we really appreciate it.
Great.
And I mean that.
It's good to hear.
One more, just a request. Since everyone is going back to school in August or September, we're going to have kids getting picked up by the bus again. It was really nice to see a deputy out at bus stops to make sure that people are not speeding as kids are getting on the bus. So we appreciate that if that can continue.
Absolutely. And I'm assuming school's starting around August 11th again? Is that the start date?
I think so. I don't know. I should know. I have a third grader. I better figure it out.
I'll look into it for you, but we'll make sure they get out there.
In case you follow up on that, it'd probably be a good idea to contact the POA on the same issue because they have patrol. Sometimes they can actually follow the bus around. They have, of course, we have more patrol resources than sheriff resources, because it's cost effective to do that. We might want to reach out to them and see at least if they can, start out, because they can give the traffic tickets and the speeding tickets and the stop sign tickets too.
Any other feedback? Okay. Are there any public comment cards on this item?
No comments.
Okay, so at this point, we are looking at our agreement and a motion and/or a second to approve the agreement.
So moved.
Second.
We need a roll call vote.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Councilmember Green?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Castillo?
Aye.
Motion carried to approve item number 4.
Thank you. Okay. We are moving along to item number 5. This is a discussion item. This item is a discussion about possible amendments to the Canyon Lake Municipal Code, Section 9.03.030, which pertains to the prohibition of commercial cannabis. And I believe our city manager is going to introduce this item.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. As you may recall, in 2019, the city was approached with a request to look at our ordinance that currently prohibits the commercial use of cannabis in the city of Canyon Lake. At the time, Mayor Jordan Ehrenkranz appointed an ad hoc committee to look at the issue. The ad hoc committee came back with some recommended steps, which we started to take. We engaged the services of HDL. HDL for many years has been the city's sales tax consultant, but they also have tremendous amount of experience in the cannabis field, helping cities navigate that process. We brought them on board, and they helped us do things such as draft a potential ordinance to replace our current ordinance, to come up with what an application process might look like, and how those applications might be objectively reviewed and scored. We brought on a polling firm to do a public opinion survey, which was done in early 2020. And we were well on the way of looking at whether or not the council was interested in changing the ordinance, and if so, what that ordinance might look like and what the process might be to evaluate potential cannabis dispensary businesses to operate in the city. And then in March of 2020, COVID-19 hit, and things came to a screeching halt. We made the decision at the time to hold off a little bit until COVID passed. We knew that this topic was one that many of our residents had an interest in, could potentially be one of the more controversial issues that this council has taken up, and so we thought it made sense to wait until the public could once again be present in person in the council chambers before we continued having discussions. Well, COVID dragged on, and so in October of last year, staff brought this issue back to you for discussion, and the direction was given very clearly to staff: no, this needs to stay on hold. Don't bring it back to the council until the public is able to be back in the chambers without restrictions, without occupancy limits. And so it's been on hold. And here we are finally in July of 2021, and this is the first regular meeting of the City Council where we've been able to have the public in the room without any limits on capacity, which is a great thing. But since we started looking at this cannabis issue, we've had a couple of changes on the City Council. Some time has gone by. We have a new list of goals that have been adopted by the council. Staff is doing a lot of things right now. And so we wanted to bring this to the council at this point to have a discussion, and for the council to give staff some clear direction on where you would like to go with this at the moment. If it's the council's desire to move forward and look at this in earnest at this point, what that next step would probably look like is that staff would really get to work again in earnest on this. We would re-engage HDL and pick up where they left off with their work. We would probably schedule a meeting at an upcoming city council meeting, potentially in September or October, where we would bring everybody in. We'd bring our consultants from HDL, would bring the principals of the polling firm. The city attorney's office would do some work. We would look at draft, really drilling down on the draft ordinance language, really putting together the process for applications, what the application packet might look like, what information we'd be looking to get from potential applicants. We'd really kind of lay all of that out and bring that to a future council meeting. I think there would really be two decision points for the council. The first decision would be, are we going to amend the ordinance and amending the ordinance if that's what the council chooses to do? And then the second step would be, okay, if the ordinance is amended, then we go into the process of accepting applications, seeking applications, accepting applications, ranking those applications, and then moving into a development agreement process with the top candidates to negotiate the best deal for the city under whatever parameters are set by the city council. So that's really where we are tonight, where staff is looking to the council for direction on where you'd like to go with this at this point.
So at this point, we're going to take city council questions to staff.
We have 2 applicants so far. So,
Well, clarification, we have no applicants so far.
there's no applicants.
So
the two.
there is no application, there's no application process that has been, remember, we still have an ordinance that prohibits the use. What we did do is, since this was, applicant's the wrong word here, but since this was driven by members of the community that were requesting that the city look into this, we wanted to make sure that whatever costs were incurred by going down this road, that those costs were borne by those who are interested in doing this and not by the city. And so we employed a tool that's used commonly called a credit and reimbursement agreement, whereby interested potential applicants deposit money with the city. The city draws from those funds to pay for example, HDL's costs and the polling firm's costs. And at the end of the day, whatever money is left over, those leftover funds are reimbursed back to the potential applicants who had deposited the funds. So and in the future, if the council decides to move forward and we accept applications, any applicant would also be required to submit, to sign a similar credit and reimbursement agreement and deposit funds as well. So we do have 2 credit and reimbursement agreements signed with 2 different entities, business entities at the moment. They were the first 2 that came forward and said, we're interested in the city exploring this, and they voluntarily entered into those agreements with the city. But I want to be clear that we have no official applicants because we have not opened up an application process.
So the open application would go out basically to the public or to the business community?
Well, it would be open to anyone who wanted to apply, yes. Yeah.
Question?
Not so much a question, but a discussion, I guess, is that I realize our staff is, we've got a lot of projects going, and it would be reference this item only in that, because this item does have cost recovery with it, if in fact we do move forward with it, if that's what this council decides tonight. My recommendation would be, in our amendment, if we do so, is that we also do a contract employee under your supervision to put this program together and put that cost recovery back on the program itself, instead of having our staff with all the other things we've got involved. This would be dedicated only to this program and would serve at your discretion until you are satisfied that all those things are met, if this council decides to move forward. My suggestion.
Yes?
Is there an estimate of the time that it would take to work on this?
I mean, I guess I don't really have a firm number in terms of hours, but it would be a significant, this is a major policy change for the city. And my sense is that the council and frankly the community would not want this council just to kind of open it up kind of as a free-for-all. That if the council chose to amend the ordinance to allow the commercial use of cannabis in Canyon Lake, that the council would want it to be done in a way that is structured and controlled, limited, made sure that it conforms with certain standards that uphold, the quality of life here in Canyon Lake. And so while we do have available to us consultants, for example, from HDL, who can help us with that process, it's not something that we can simply turn over to consultant and say, okay, you deal with it. It's something that staff really needs to dig into and make sure that we fully understand what's being done here. So it would be it would be a significant time commitment on the part of staff for sure.
Mr. City Attorney?
Mayor, if you mind if I tack onto that?
Jump in.
This would be my fifth ordinance working with HDL if the council directed that we go in that direction. You start with the same skeleton, basically, and then you have to make it appropriate for the community. It is not something that you can do overnight. Most communities, it takes quite a long time of, putting it together, working on the staff side, bringing it back to the council for feedback. So it does take, I would estimate, like if you were going full tilt, you probably couldn't get it done sooner than 6 months.
Well, and let me add to that too, that given the sensitive nature of the issue within the community, I imagine it's something the council would want to solicit quite a bit of community feedback on. So we'd probably want to hold a town hall meeting or meetings and really make sure that we're taking into account the feedback and concerns of the community too. So that would be, and that's always a significant time commitment, but yes.
Questions that I've been given by community members range from, is this a good idea, to, if it happens, where will it go? We're pretty limited in terms of space, and I guarantee that there are going to be individuals who have something to say about specific locations in the community. What kind of breakdown is there beyond changing the ordinance from no to yes? What would be the actual implementation process? You said 6 months. Is that for the ordinance, or is it 6 months for the implementation, feasibility on location?
So
all that?
speaking only to the ordinance side, recently got this done in the city of Hemet. When I got brought in January in that city, they had a half-completed ordinance, and it took 5 months to get it from half-completed to ready for city council adoption. And it was expected that it'll take another 5 months to go from adoption of the ordinance to applications being submitted and approved. When you're talking about the where, that is usually the biggest topic of concern. These ordinances tend to be 50 pages long because it's a highly regulated activity, and there's many different activities under cannabis. And so the where, though, is always one of the pressing questions. So, for example, when Hemet had that conversation before their city council, they used their GIS systems to create several maps that said, if it's in this zone and it has this distances, here are the properties that would be eligible. And, they went over those maps pretty extensively because, like you said, where it goes is one of the biggest questions.
Canyon Lake, as it stands today, is pretty limited in terms of our boundaries and areas where this might exist. And so I think just logically, you could think of maybe 3 potential places, one being the town center, the other being Eastport, the third being, the building that used to be a car dealership right on the border with Lake Elsinore. But, those are questions the council would have to grapple with and decide. What locations are you comfortable with? How many of those? Is it just one? Is it one at each location? Those are questions that would have to be addressed.
So we could actually approve the ordinance but not approve any locations? I mean, just depending on what was available is what you're saying. It could end up being that.
So there's
simple.
many options on the application and approval process. The most common one that a lot of cities have seen is a discretionary approval that comes to the city council. So it's entirely feasible that you could have an ordinance on the books that authorized this type of activity, but if you didn't get a quality applicant that met the location and the, something that was good for the community that you were willing to approve a permit for, conceivably you could have an ordinance that allows it, but not have any. I mean, there's a lot of businesses that are permitted in Canyon Lake. You don't have them. So it would be no different than that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't the state have list of criteria of where these establishments could be close to schools, close to this, close to that, or has that all been changed?
Those provisions still exist. There are locational restrictions, especially related to youth-oriented businesses, like arcades and schools, but those can be modified by the city.
Okay, so they left it.
So those are the defaults.
Okay.
But cities have absolute control over changing those if you wanted to. Not many do, but you can.
I get the feeling from the community that location's one of their bigger issues. It would seem like if we opened up for community comment, we would want to identify a few locations and get the community impact back on those locations. Because, again, it's the community that I think has the most concern about this. That's just a comment. So even if we passed an ordinance, the choice of the locations might be something the community would want to be involved in.
Madam Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
A few questions, Mr. City Attorney. I know that you're putting together and finishing the ordinance for Hemet. Was part of that discussion with council and the community making those certain vendors do certain things for the community, such as volunteer hours, revamping parks, street cleanups? I know that
Yes.
when I've done my research, most vendors have come forth with a serious amount of push to help the community with certain projects. Did Hemet do the same?
They did. One of the requirements of their ordinance was any commercial cannabis business had to enter into a community benefit agreement. The ordinance does not specify what those community benefits are. It's incumbent upon each individual applicant to make a proposal, and that affects their viability in obtaining a permit. So, sponsoring little leagues, clean up parks. Some of them offer to do additional security patrols of specific areas, things like that.
Yeah, I've heard others do road work, pothole cleanup, that sort of stuff. So I was just asking, what our somewhat of a sister city is doing. The other question I have, more directed towards city staff, Mr. City Manager, if this council decided to move forward with implementing an ordinance for the community, would this put some of our big projects that we have on hold that we're currently working on?
That's a tough question. I mean, staff always endeavors to implement the policies set by this council in a timely manner. That being said, we don't have unlimited bandwidth, fairly small staff. If it's the council's desire to move on this at this time, your staff will do everything we can to make it happen in a timely manner. That being said, we are a lot busier than we were in 2019.
Right.
We have a lot on our plates, as you know, particularly in relation to starting a fire department. So I'm not going to say it wouldn't be a challenge, but we're here to serve.
On that follow-up, if in fact we decide to direct staff to bring us some additional information, which our current two new members have not heard, I still make the recommendation that if after that discussion we decide to move, then we augment our staff with contract to help put this program together. Because I really don't think diluting our staff with too many projects is going to be in the benefit of what we're trying to accomplish. So if we decide to go as a council, I really want everybody to have the information that is out there, both pro and con for this. But if we do move, we do need the professional staff, not saying our staff is not, but focused on this so that it gets done in as timely as we can. Because I'm trying to give you guys a break. I'm talking about my staff now. We give them 25 projects and we expect everyone to be done last week. So, I mean, pretty soon there's an end to how much they can do. And they're doing a great job for our small staff. But this is a major changing if we change. And I do believe there is information that is out there that our new council members do need to hear, as well as new community members that weren't here when we tabled it due to COVID, because this is a community-driven, I think not community-driven decision, obviously it's going to be ours, but we're impacting the community in many ways with either a yes or no on this. So I think the information would be beneficial to come back to with their staff, to bring back the information that we currently have, to give our new members that information. And then at that point, which would be our next meeting, we decide whether we amend our ordinance or we leave it the same, and it's put to bed for a while. I feel it would be unfair for us not to give that information to our current members, to be able to have them have that, to be able to at least go through it and then make a decision based on those numbers plus based on the input from the community.
Well, and I think too, we did have those companies do market research. We haven't had a full community presentation on that yet. Right now, we have an ad hoc committee that is currently seated as Councilmember Green and Councilmember Welty, right? So certainly that is something the ad hoc committee as seated could be working on to put together for that type of discussion. I mean, we see a lot of community members here today. I think a lot of various stakeholders. The city clerk has a stack of public comments. I'm interested in hearing what those comments are.
I just want to, Councilmember Green, I thought your input, was good in regards to our staff shouldn't have to suffer when we are at a time where we can. And I think what happened, when Chris came on board, he had a whiteboard and he started throwing darts at it, and the dang thing stuck. We've been doing some pretty amazing things. I mean, the list is so long, and I know that you even said it yourself, Mr. City Manager, that if this council wants to take on starting their own fire department, it's going to be the hardest thing that, the staff and we've had to do collectively as a group. For me, I'm in your guys' corner because we're continuing to ask more of you than just a fire department. So that's my big concern with bringing up this ordinance at this time. Down the road, obviously, when things lighten up a little bit, it makes sense when we can actually go out and look at other alternatives like the city of Hemet and what they're proposing and what they're asking for their vendors. I think having it fully vetted with the community is something that's very important. My concern is that right now, allocating more time on this particular agenda item, it's just bad timing, and that's my belief on it with what I'm hearing from staff and the input I have on it. But I want to hear from my colleagues on if they would rather us move forward and keep bringing this back up and have more discussion on it, or if we want to look at this at a later date, significantly later, like 2 years, or what that looks at, and kind of go from there. Because I'm with you, Councilman Green. I don't think we need to continue. This has been over our staff's head for quite a while now. We had COVID, so I think some direction today is crucial, and we should give that direction.
So if you can, break that down. If we say move forward on either the ordinance process for review, town halls, public comment, readings of the ordinance, or what's the other option? Refund whatever is left in the account from the those who contributed to the studies, or how does that work?
But are you asking if the council were to decide to?
No action.
No
Well,
action, or?
We've had two recommendations that we kind of stall this out. People have submitted funds for us to move forward.
Right.
So what does that look like?
So I guess, for example, if what Mayor Pro Tem Smith suggested is is the direction the council ends up going, where you say it's kind of bad timing, we're gonna put this off for a while, whether it's you mentioned 2 years. I think at that point it's essentially tabled, and I guess I would recommend and ask for the direction from the council. If that's the way the council wants to go, I would ask for the direction to refund the balance of the monies that are on deposit to the two applicants who have submitted them, and then we just we stop all activity on that topic until such time as the council decides to pick it up again. The slow roll kind of grinds on staff's time, it's kind of, yeah. So I would suggest and recommend that the council either say, okay, we're going to do this now, we're going to move forward, or we're going to shelve this for whatever period of time that is, and whether it's a year or 2 years or whatever that is, and then pick it up at that time.
Any other questions?
I would just, as Larry would say, the new council people don't really have the information that the longer councilmen that have served on the term council person. So maybe at the very least, maybe we could put something together for the two of us that are new and give us some informational updates. I don't think would that hit your staff time too hard?
Well, I guess it depends on what information exactly we're talking about. In my mind, there really isn't a lot of, I guess I'm struggling to understand what information the new council members don't have that the rest of the council has at this point. I think the next step, if the council wants to continue with this exploration, is to have the consultants in the room and at a future meeting have HDL come and explain the work they've done so far and what the next steps would be for them. Have the polling firm come and explain the poll that was conducted last year and the results of that poll. Probably have either our lieutenant or captain from the sheriff's department prepared to come and talk about their experiences with these ordinances in other cities, and really delve into the issue with the whole council. I don't really think that the new council members are lacking any information that the rest of the council has on this topic at this point.
Yeah, I am concerned about the fire department, that to me, that needs to be the priority. The success of the fire department has a huge impact on the success of the community. And I am concerned about draining the resources from you and your staff, because no matter what happens, it's going to hit your time. And that's just my concern.
Any other questions or feedback? Okay, so then at this point, we do have considerable public comment, right?
Yes, several public comments. I'd like to remind everybody that 3 minutes is your time limit. I will be timing. The mayor's got her gavel. So 3 minutes, please. We have lots of comments. And we'll start with Vice President Burke.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm not here to advocate for or against the policy, but to your city attorney's comments and to your city manager's comments, from my experience with some of my clients, community benefit is really important. And each one needs to be uniquely, if you decide to move forward, for this community. So, for example, in Ventura, they lost a big strawberry industry. So as they are considering cannabis, commercial cannabis, they're looking for the big guys that come in, and usually they don't come in until the application process comes, to partner with a local grower so that there is some community buy-in and economic, or whether it's financial literacy for youth or after-school programs. But the other part that some cities have done very well, and I would encourage you to consider, is reporting back on how they did and all the community benefit they said they were going to do, and make that contingency on whether they get to renew their license. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jim Randall. Okay, thank you. Dan Merchant.
Thank you, council members, Mayor Pro Tem, Madam Mayor. My name is Dan Merchant. I've been a resident of Canyon Lake for pretty close to 20 years. I'm also a private business owner, and obviously I know how important it is for the cities as well as businesses as well as residents to all join forces to benefit the greater the good. Very familiar with City of Hemet because I own a business there for well over 20 years. Actually, we're building a new building there, so I was involved a little bit with the cannabis thing in the City of Hemet. Worked very close with Chris Lopez and his team over there. Excuse me. So the biggest thing is I think I'm going to have to table a lot of my comments for future. I'm just hoping to be able to stand up here and convince the council members and so forth to be able to really consider, to be able to put this on the table and to listen to it. Because the one thing I'm hearing very loud and clear tonight is financial. We all, as things continue to accelerate in prices, we all know, we have to continue as a city to look for tax revenue. And obviously, that's a big deal. Talk about short staff, talk about all this other stuff. The only thing that's going to make that rise is obviously financial. And I think that when we look at this type of stuff, and that's really what we have to be leaning towards. Of course, there's always the safeties, and there's the community projects, and there's the community involvement and so forth. But one of the biggest things I walk away from as a business owner, when I made a decision just recently to open a brand-new business from ground up, buying 5 acres and building a ground-up building in the city of Hemet and staying in Hemet, and believe me, I would have loved to have brought it to Canyon Lake. Unfortunately, Canyon Lake ain't got 5 acres that I can put a business on. So basically, by doing that, I was entertained by Lake Paris, obviously City of Paris, Temecula, Menifee, and so forth. I chose Hemet for the simple fact because the city is struggling with their tax revenues and so forth, and some of the revenue challenges they're having. And they've been a great partner for us. We've been a great partner for them, and we do great things together. And hopefully that the city, obviously, that we can table this, or you all can table it to the standpoint of talking about it and communicating about it, because this is desperately needed. Living in this city this long, I just don't know any other ways to be able to generate revenue. Being in retail nearly 45 years of my life, managing a not $1 million company, but I managed a multi-billion-dollar company, a Fortune 20 company in the United States. So I understand the importance of being able to manage a business and the revenue challenges we have. So again, one of the things that frustrates me as a community member in here is continuing to hear things. We're short-funded this, short-funded this, short-funded this. Just look outside the box a little bit, that's all I'm asking. I think that this is a road that none of us have traveled before, but if you look at the cities around us, they've all accelerated this process, maybe not as fast as some of us want to, but we really need to sort of accelerate this. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we have, is it Bobette Stubbs? Bobettle? I'm sorry.
Welcome. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Babette Stubbs. First bought my home here in Canyon Lake and moved here in 1988, so a very long-time resident. And my husband and I have many, many times discussed there's just no place that we would rather live. So we're not going anywhere. Love the community and love being a part of it. I'm here to talk about the cannabis subject. Myself and a majority of Californians voted to legalize marijuana. And I think one of the driving reasons was as a revenue source. I think it gives Canyon Lake a unique revenue source that in my 30-plus years here, I haven't seen new businesses coming in. We sort of stretched and we added those taxes to our utility bills, and we really try to get out of the box to come up with revenue. And I think that this is an opportunity that the city should very seriously take advantage of and look at. I also want to encourage you to go down to some of the dispensaries that are in our sister cities. I believe that you will find them to be very professional, very comfortable environments. And I myself have visited a few of them. And I have never once felt any pressure to buy or to use marijuana while I was there. And the other people that were there were comfortable to be around. I didn't feel that I was in a dangerous or an uncomfortable environment. And I would encourage you to go see what these dispensaries actually are. I know that the staff there would be happy to talk with you and just give you a flavor for the type of business that we might have in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Bruce Wallace.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Councilmember Green and Welty. I was asked to speak tonight on the cannabis issue. Forgive my lack of preparation. I hadn't planned on speaking. Bought a residence here in 2004 and plan to stay here long time. I think it's obvious to most people, and I'm repeating some of the comments that have been made, that tax revenues are always an issue. And obviously, in our unique community, limited space as it is, we have very few opportunities to find a source of revenue. I think we have one now that's rather unique in that it's not an expense item, it's actually a revenue enhancing item. And just as the former speaker mentioned, I've not visited any of the perimeter businesses, but feedback from people I know that have very similar comments. They're professional, they're safe, they're clean, and I think given the changes in California law, and now with one of our Supreme Court justices suggesting that federal law may change, we'd be short-sighted if we didn't fully investigate this opportunity before us. It certainly provides an opportunity for the community and the city to reap the benefits of enhanced tax revenue. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Brian Bach.
Welcome.
Mayor, council members, others. I would say we have to look at the state of California and the state of cannabis in the sense that it's like basically the train has already left the station. So really, you don't have to set a moral judgment here, or we're not going to be changing things like no one's ever done before. In fact, we're kind of behind the eight ball on this. It's more about it's going to happen. So it may not happen in this council, and I'm hearing that we may wait a year or 6 months or whatever, but honestly, it's going to happen. And what I've also heard for the last 10 years I've lived here, and I'm speaking purely as an individual citizen here, a parent, a business owner in this community, and certainly not as big a revenue producer as something like a cannabis would be, but a revenue producer in this county, in this city. That it's going to happen, and I think we're missing the I want to say opportunity. You're right now, people are going to the other cities. There are a number of people in Canyon Lake who indulge either medically or now personally for recreational use. I myself don't, but that doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. The bottom line is what I've seen, and I represent a lot of public entities similar to cities and other entities, and I've seen the fear that starts with it. So for example, if you look, and I think you really should look at the city of Needles, for example, and the Palm Springs area, things like that. We can't bring this into our community, so forth. The next thing you know, they're sponsoring literally the Little League with patches on their shirts and things like that, which is kind of funny. But ultimately, they're doing, like Darcy said, charitable, if not donations. Sometimes it's required. I guess that's something new I'm learning. But ultimately, revenue producing and positive community building. And frankly, if you look around at any other future potential business, you can't really find a new one, okay? Maybe we don't have an arcade, we don't have a soda shop or yogurt shop or whatever, but we don't have anything like this. But ironically, we do have, I think, 1, 2, and maybe 3 on the horizon smoke shops.
And if anything, if you want to talk about kind of like who goes in and out kind of thing, you got to look there. I think that the cannabis population, from what I've seen in these other communities, has been fine. I mean, it's literally people you don't even know in the room. I think in the end, we're talking about millions of dollars, and for years, I appreciate what you guys go through. For years, people said, the city can't afford this, the county can't afford that. I'm sure there are people thinking right now, we can't afford the contracts we're putting out tonight. And I think that we're missing this opportunity. I also want to speak to, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, the delay, let's hold off. We just got out of COVID, we have these other projects. Is that 3? Yep. Wow. I think it's time.
I got really excited about that. It wasn't personal.
No offense, but we give the person an opportunity to finish. So I would just say, I think that we're missing the boat, and we really should look at moving forward with this, at least to get past the stage that we're at right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next, we have Colin, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your last name. Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name's Colin McCaffrey. I work for Bilwell Construction. I'm a general contractor. I've built facilities. I've lived in Canyon Lake since 1982. I've built homes in Canyon Lake. I'm an advocate for what you guys are proposing. I've known possibly both candidates for a very long time. If either one is a potential candidate, you're in good hands. The revenue will be extreme. There's so many guidelines set by the BCC that you will not have a problem. Your ordinances will be superseded. That being said, if you do agree upon this, there'll be more than potholes fixed.
Next, we have Mary Reed.
Welcome. Hi, thank you. So I'm just here to say Canyon Lake is a city that shaped most of my most important older childhood years, and it's a city that I care about and love so much. It's the people here are like family. I love it here. I've loved every minute of being here, and I intend to stay my entire life if I'm privileged enough to do so. I would not come up here and advocate for any decision that I thought to be detrimental or dangerous to the city itself. That's not who I am. I love it here, and I really want the best for this place no matter what. And I trust you guys to make an informed decision that keeps the community, the well-being, and of course the financial matters in mind. So I'm here to talk about 2 topics: why a dispensary might be necessary in Canyon Lake, and like the safety matters that come along with that kind of question, like the concerns people have about how safe it is. So essentially, a big reason for cannabis usage is medicinal, and it's not easy to make that 20-minute drive over to Lake Elsinore, Hemet, those cities where these dispensaries are available for people with limited mobility, chronic illnesses, things that really are used, like why cannabis is used to like alleviate those, so that drive might not be so easy for them. People who are blessed with health, however, are going to drive that distance, and they're going to spend money at these dispensaries that could be going to Canyon Lake tax revenue. And as much as I love the other cities, they're not us, and we could definitely use that money. So figures released by the state of California itself revealed that the cannabis industry alone has brought over $1 billion in tax revenue as of 2020. And a quarter of individual dispensaries in America reported bringing in annual revenues of $1 million. This also brings in job opportunities to Canyon Lakers who, if we do move forward with this and make this a little sooner, and even in the future have been impacted by the pandemic, where employment isn't as easy to find for certain individuals. And the other matter I wanted to bring up was the safety of cannabis like dispensaries, and as was said, they're very nice facilities. Never ever felt in any sort of danger when I visited any with my friends or by myself, anything like that. It's never been a question of safety if you go with reputable people who pass these like standards that we're obviously going to hold up as Canyon Lake, as I know we're going to do because we're great. So there's no evidence that marijuana makes any individual like violent or anything like that. They're actually utilized in treatments of disorders like EID, which exacerbate angry behavior. So we're not going to have all these violent people running around like on the streets. That's not what's going to happen. So it's just beneficial all around. We could definitely use the money, as has been stated. The tax benefits are amazing, and yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm very impressed with the comments we're getting. Kind of actually blown away.
All right,
Just
all
saying.
right. So I have 2 cards left, Richard Moline and Rich Moline. Same person? Okay, all right.
Same person.
You can't tell we're related at all.
Sadly, he has more hair than me.
The name gives it away.
Well, nice to meet you all. My name is Richard Moline, son of Rich Moline, and I'm here to advocate for Shop in the Lake, obviously. She actually touched on some of the points that I would want to go on. Main things I noticed is the opioid crisis that we just went through that's still going on and increased due to Rona. Cannabis is definitely a huge thing to help that. It weans people off of it, a deterrent, a substitute. With the dispensaries, with people who can't drive out, we end up having other dispensary drivers coming into our community. People that we don't know, people who don't live here. That, I would rather get that money to our community. And that's pretty much about it that I can think of off the top of my head. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and last card is Mr. Rich Moline.
Welcome.
And if given the opportunity to do a cannabis dispensary here, my son is going to be a partner in the business. So we're going to make it a family business. So we've waited 17 months to be able to be here, and thank God it's finally here. The city council has made it very clear that you want to hear from the citizens, the community, the residents. And I think this is reflective of their feelings. This is only a percentage. A survey is only a percentage. But this is the true feelings of this community. As we sit here and we listen, and I'm glad that we had the opportunity to hear about some of the challenges, and we're debating with the sheriff's department about blood tests and sexual tests and a $1,200 bill. How are we going to pay for that? How do we get restitution? And I tell you, restitution from criminals is going to be tough. I don't care what you say, but you got to try what you got to try. This is a zero cost business model for the city. Zero cost. 100% of all costs incurred by the city will be paid by the fees and the taxes that will be from the cannabis dispensary. This city council has made some tremendous investments for long-range capital tax improvements, right? You bought the church, right? So that's, several $100,000 at least, put a new roof on it. That's a lot of money to invest. And a percentage of tax revenue, or income, rather, for the city, how much is that going to be? If we need 3 people to be hired to get this done so we can continue the other projects, which the fire is absolutely critical. I totally agree. But I think it's absolutely critical that we allow a dispensary so we can pay for the fire department. I mean, that's really what this is all about. Now, HDL is going to carry the heavy lifting of the application and writing of the ordinance and everything like that. But I'm sure there has to be some support staff involved. And Mr. Brian over here, his idea is it is going to happen. And why you still have the governance to decide who's going to get it, I would love to see this city council be the one to make that decision moving forward. I've been fortunate to meet with all of you in the last week individually, so we already know how we feel, and I've given you a lot of information. But again, these are the yeses, these are the nos for an actual survey that was on Canyon Lake Insider that every single citizen that has a computer or a phone had the opportunity to complete. And the ratios are 10 to 1. in favor of a dispensary. Medical, taxes, convenience, it's all there. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no more cards.
Okay. Well, I could just make a comment. I appreciate all the public comment tonight. A lot of it was very articulate, very well organized. Personally, I look at this, running this community like a business, and I want to see it move forward. So, you've given me a lot to think about, and I'm appreciative of that. So, we've had our discussion. We have some options. Does anyone want to add anything before we discuss how we're going to go forward?
No, I think just move it. Get the options, let's do it.
Okay, so at this point, I'm looking for some kind of a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, what is your motion?
I'll make a motion that we bring it back to the next meeting and bring the additional information if it's possible. And at that point, if we can get our consultants here to give us the survey they did, plus the projected revenue, I think then we, at that point, will either modify the ordinance or not.
I like what Mr. Wallace said about investigating, and I personally have never been to a dispensary, and I do not feel like I should make any kind of decision without going to one. So if anyone wants to take me on a field trip, give me a call. I'm sure my dad would volunteer, but
I'll take you to mine in Ring Valley.
I would like to go. Okay. So we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Okay, can you restate the motion so
Okay,
it's very clear?
I want the cannabis subject to come back on the next agenda as a item for a decision on the modification of the ordinance, which is either a yes or affirmative or a no, with the additional information brought to in a staff presentation from HCDL or whatever it is, plus the survey that they did, so that our community can see that, and as well, and invite the community again for public comments, so that at that point, I think everything is current, and then we go forward.
Before there's a second, can I ask for a clarification on the motion? You said at the next meeting, during my city manager comments towards the end of the agenda, I was going to recommend that the council go dark in August.
Okay.
So the next meeting
Would be September.
September.
September would be fine. I
Okay.
think that 1 month is fine. That's not a big deal, but I do think that get this on the agenda for a decision. And I believe there is some additional information from the surveys and
Yes.
I'm as interested in the financials as anyone else. Obviously, I've seen different financials presented from different cities and the revenues that they've attained and stuff, but I'd like to see what we've got, and then the survey, again, even though I've seen it, and then I'd like to have that.
And just one other point of clarification, when you say for a decision, it may not be possible to have an ordinance in its final version at that point. That might
Okay.
be something that we work on, but we could certainly bring the consultants, the drafts that they have so far, our polling firm.
Could perhaps we have sample ordinances
Yes.
to look at
Yes.
versus a Canyon Lake ordinance?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
And that was the point I was going to make, Mayor. You guys need to look at the ordinance and give us direction.
Yeah. Right.
I can guess, but I'm going to get it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I think we understand the motion. Thank you.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
my motion.
I just, one more well, I guess I could second the motion. Then I have another comment. Should I make the comment now? I would just like staff to look into, Chris, primarily you, we'll talk staff, but really come up with some out-of-the-box suggestions on how to deal with the manpower issue. That's really the heart of part of this, is how do we get this done without putting our other projects at risk? And I think what Larry said about a contract employee type of thing. Again, we're throwing it up in the air, seeing where it sticks.
Yeah.
But if you could, when you come back for our informational meeting, maybe, if you have some out-of-the-box ideas about how we could do this without stressing your staff.
I appreciate that. We'll give that some thought on how to approach that. I mean, I think the reality is, at the end of the day, there are just certain things, especially with a policy issue of this magnitude, that you just can't delegate, So an extra set of hands might be helpful, but at the end of the day, your city manager, your city attorney are really going to have to dig in. Probably your planning, your city planner as well. And that's okay. That's what we're here for. But it might be nice to have an extra set of hands, but I don't think it's something that we can say, okay, well, we're going to hire one person or two people or three people, and they're just going to handle it, Yeah.
I don't think I would be comfortable with that anyways.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
My intent wasn't that they just handle it all, that they have direct supervision, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because from my perspective, I want it to fit Canyon Lake. I don't care about Lake Elsinore. Well, I do, but in the, they have their own things like Paris, the city of Paris and others. Unfortunately, our city attorney just worked with the city of Emmett. So as we've done in the past, we've looked at others and we've copied, or we make our own. But it will be fit to the city of Canyon Lake. And financials is one, but also community is another. So both of those are very important to us.
Okay, so if I understand, we have a motion to continue the discussion in September.
Correct.
Okay. And a second by Dale.
Yes.
Okay. Roll call vote?
Okay, Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Councilmember Green?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Castillo?
Aye.
Motion carried to bring this back at the September meeting.
Thank you to everyone who has come tonight.
Don't take
Mass
this personally.
exodus. They're like, we're done with you. That's okay.
That's it. No.
3 minutes.
I honestly did not, this went out of my hand. I did not intend to slam it that hard. Poor Brian.
that was
not
impressive.
intentional. It was literally not intentional.
I was proud of you.
Remind me to tell you the story of my workers' comp claim related to a gavel.
Brian Bach, if you were listening, I did not intend to hit it that hard, and I apologize. Okay. Is everyone okay to continue, or, okay. So now we are on item number 6. Item number 6 is a two-part.
Yes.
Situation.
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have 2 ordinances under this one business item, and I will very happily turn this over to our city attorney to make the presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Manager. Mayor, members of the council, you have before you, as the mayor referenced, 2 items. The first is urgency ordinance number 208, and the second is first reading of ordinance 209. The ordinances are identical in their language, with the exception that the urgency ordinance would go into effect immediately tonight if approved by 4/5 of the council. And I'll get into the reason why we have that on here in just a few seconds. But to sort of talk to you about what you have basically a cleanup ordinance for Chapter 3.44. In 2019, the City Council was faced with the escalating costs of providing fire and emergency medical services to the city. The dedicated revenue source, which is the fire structure fee, has been vastly outpaced by the cost of providing the services through county fire. The city council looked to the EMS subscription model that is employed by communities throughout this country, where those who seek emergency medical services from the city pay the cost of those services that are being provided to them, or they have the option to participate in the EMS subscription program, which operates similarly to an insurance program. If you participate in that program at a significant discount from what it costs to actually call 911, if you receive emergency medical services, you are not billed by the city for those. The program went into effect in July of 2020. Since that time, we have received a significant amount of feedback from the community that's gone through individual council members wanting to make changes to how they may participate in the program. Additionally, staff has encountered many unforeseen challenges with the implementation of the program. And then finally, in the latter half of 2020, the city was served with a lawsuit from a resident, Richard Beck, who challenged the EMS subscription program. His lawsuit sought the repeal of the ordinance and the associated fee resolutions that went along with it. That lawsuit slogged on through COVID and everything, and was resolved in June of this year. While they had sought the complete repeal of the program, they were only successful in having the judge strike 2 subsections of one of the sections related to the automatic enrollment of residential solid waste subscribers. In the judge's opinion, he stated several issues that he had with the ordinance otherwise. He didn't like that the ordinance didn't require the notice to actually come from the city. The ordinance that was sent in 2020 to save on costs, to keep the program cheap, we combined it with another constitutionally mandated notice that came from our refuse provider. The court said that they found that confusing. For 2021, it actually came from the city, so that was something the city had already changed in practice. The court was concerned about the amount of notice that was required under the ordinance at 15 days. As a practical matter, although the ordinance required only 15 days, the city had always provided much more than that, 45 days notice. And then lastly, the court took issue with the fact that you had to affirmatively opt out every year. The court felt that that was unnecessary. If someone tells you they don't want to participate, you should just let them opt out. So even though those changes weren't required by the court, those were simply commentary that was included in the ruling, we decided to address all these issues. I mean, most of these had already been addressed by the city in practice. So we took the ordinance, we took all those things, we were like, okay, we need to do a cleanup. The court's ruling required that the changes it had mandated go into effect within 30 days. That puts the city in kind of a unique situation, since ordinarily ordinances cannot go into effect until you have a first reading, a second reading, and then 30 days after that second reading. For the city of Canyon Lake, where we would do the first reading today, if you cancel August, your second reading would be in September. 30 days after that would put you into the beginning of October. Wanting to comply fully with the court's order, we added an urgency ordinance. Ordinarily, we don't move this fast when drafting ordinances, or you want to take your time, get the language right. So unfortunately on this one, we did have to put off publishing it with the agenda. So in case any members of the public are here, copies of this were provided at the beginning of the meeting. They're in the back. I know we have at least one member of the audience who indicated a desire to look at it, so we made sure to give him a copy before the meeting started, so he had the opportunity to review it. Going through the ordinance itself and going into the provisions that were changed, if the council doesn't mind, I'll try to be brief. Looking at section 3.44020C, this is where you'll see one of the significant changes that was brought up by individual council members. And this was actually something that came from the community. So members of the community had said, if I subscribe to the EMS subscription program, I want it to cover, my family when they come to visit. I want it to cover people who come to maybe a party that I have at my house. Previously, it had only covered the subscriber and the members of their household. So if you look at 3.44020C1, it will now cover all members, guests, and invitees of a subscriber's household. Canyon Lake is unique among cities in that we are probably one of the few cities where there is paperwork to prove who your invitees are in the form of a guest pass, which I've been fortunate to get a few of those occasionally. Still waiting on my trip on the boat. Anyway, under 3.44020, you'll also see that the program will cover for our businesses in town. It will cover the owner, the employees, their customers as well. That was a request that we'd gotten sort of from the business community. And then I skipped over it. I apologize. 3.44020B, the EMS subscription program is now going to be open to all persons. So previously, there had been some limiting language here that required you to be a permanent resident or a property owner with a physical location. So for example, that excluded me as your city attorney. Although I do have a business that does business in this city, I'm here regularly during stressful events. I don't have a physical location. So, there was always the joke, if I start to have a heart attack, drag me into Menifee. But now any person, including, my business, including any other person who wants to participate in this program is eligible to do so. Other changes, if we could go to the next page, you'll see A and B. You'll see A says intentionally removed. I put that there rather than leave it blank, and it includes a footnote that explains that this subsection, was one of the subsections that the court ordered removed. So it's gone. And I think it's the cleanest to just leave it like that. Subdivision B there is much shorter than it used to be, and so you'll see it has a similar footnote as well. C essentially gives some more step-by-step directions on how the program's going to operate going forward. So anyone can subscribe at any time as long as they pay the fee. You'll notice that, consistent with previous council direction, that fee is not prorated unless the council authorizes proration as part of your annual fee resolution. Okay, so that's up to you. 3 addresses one of the tangential concerns of the court here. So it says that anyone may terminate their subscription at any time, not just during a certain time of the year. Anytime you can terminate your subscription, and that will terminate your subscription in perpetuity unless you resubscribe. Okay? A special note here for that. We had it where people terminated their subscriptions, contacted the city for EMS services, received the EMS response fee, and then wanted to opt back in. And the city allowed them, but they are still responsible for that EMS response fee. So it's something that when somebody does terminate, we'll make sure that they're aware of, that, you can obviously make this decision, you're an adult, but just be aware that there are consequences to that decision. Number 4, this is another change. So previously people had to terminate only on an annual basis. So now anyone who previously terminated last year, this year, or tried to terminate, but for whatever reason that termination was not effective, their termination is deemed approved. They are going to be getting notices in the mail that give them a 90-day grace period. So there were a bunch of people who opted out in the first year, and they didn't opt out in the second year. Those people may want to participate. So we are going to give them notice, let them know that, hey, because of how we're interpreting this decision, you're out of the program. If you want back in, you have 90 days to let us know. You're not going to be charged at this time, so you'll have to pay the fee. And that will give them that opportunity so that they're not taken by surprise. I think that's one of the most critical things that the council's given us direction on, is not to surprise the residents. Make sure you're giving them adequate notice of everything. And then the flip side of that is anybody who is in the program, we're going to let them know, hey, you're in the program. and give them 90 days to terminate so they don't get charged. So the idea is, again, just to make sure that everybody knows where they stand going forward. Other changes, there were no substantial changes to 3.44040 or 3.44050. Notably, 050 is the section which authorizes the city to collect the subscription fee and delinquent response fees on the property tax roll. I'd like to note that the court did not strike those sections. They were an integral part of this ordinance. What you will see, though, on 050C is that whenever we're going to send someone a notice that, hey, your subscription is going to continue, instead of getting a minimum of 15 days, they are going to get a 90-day notice. That's going to be mailed from the city clerk. So again, the court didn't say how long notice should be. There's different types of notice in state law. The longest is 45 days that I'm aware of. We said, okay, we'll double the longest known notice, and hopefully that'll be enough notice if this ever goes again. So we have 90 days right there. That's not a huge issue for the city. And then lastly, you will see there's a brand new section, 3.44060. And so this addresses an issue that we were having sort of at the staff level, which was, if we accidentally charge someone a subscription fee who should not have been charged, or if we attempt to charge a response fee to somebody who should not have been charged, what is the process by which that person can attempt to appeal that fee or to get a refund? So we put in a relatively robust appeal process here. The idea is to allow people who are charged, they have 30 days to come into the city. It's a really basic, I know there's long rules here, but that's just the way it has to be. It's going to be a relatively straightforward form. Someone fills out, says, I was charged this fee. I don't believe I should have been charged this fee. Here's the reason for it. And that will sort of streamline, I think, the city manager and staff have had to deal with all sorts of issues. Someone gets charged a response fee based off of information we're getting from County Fire. They say, I'm a subscriber. We look into it, we find out they're a subscriber. They say, there are some reasons why we don't charge a fee. If someone dies, in the provision of emergency medical services or afterwards. So, we may not know that based on the records we received, so we can appeal it. And then, like I said, the subscription fee. Obviously, with this ruling and the change in the program, there may be people who are like, hey, whoa, I'm getting this letter from you saying I'm subscribed, and I'm not subscribed. That gives them the opportunity to get out of the program. So that's basically what it is. Clean up a lot of different things, a lot of different moving parts. We're trying to address the court ruling, trying to address staff issues, trying to address community issues, all in one fell swoop. Thought it was easier, rather than do the, piecemeal, this section is amended as follows. Thought it'd be easier just to give you the whole chapter so you can, again, see how it all works together. Both of them are the same. I do recommend, if you do decide to move on approving these, that you do it as two separate motions, with an understanding that the urgency would need to pass by 4/5 vote. Thank you, Mayor.
I have a comment. My comment specifically was that I had been approached by a member of the community who said, I am in favor of the EMS subscription program, but I want it to include my grandchildren when they come to visit. So I'm very happy that that had been in the thought process originally, but we were waiting to see how this went. And it looks like there was an opportunity for us to include that, and I'm happy, and I think that those people who are into this program are going to be happy that now it covers anyone who is invited to their house, not just those who live there. And that means you don't have to be at the house, correct? You can be a Canyon.
Right.
So I'm at Sierra Park with my grandkids, not that I have grandkids yet, but you know what I mean? And then they get hurt, they're covered, right?
Right, and it's just like, again, it's just like any other kind of, insurance program. It covers you, the person, and people who have specified relationships to you, regardless of where you are in the city of Canyon Lake.
Okay. My second comment was I had been approached by a renter who had said that their landlord was opting out and they did not want to opt out. So now that individual can.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's, again, that's exactly one of the issues that we had heard from people. We're like, hey, I want to participate, but how do I get in? So we wanted to make it as easy as possible. Any person can opt in at any time by paying the fee.
Okay. Any other commentary or questions about this? No? Okay. So we are looking then for public comment.
John Zeitz.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. As Mr. Graham said, I just got this 5 minutes before, so I have some questions for you and I have some comments for you. On page 2, the city seems to have this feeling that the budget amount of $1,262,000 for fiscal year 2014 and $2,259,000 for 2019-20. And then they put in this statement that's totally false. Those costs are from manning the same single engine at the same single fire station. And that's a lie. And you know that's a lie. Why do you put that in there? Because in 2014, we did not pay from July, August, and September because we closed the fire station. The fire station was closed during 2014-15, and we went to a contract with Elsinore for the $2 million, and they were outside, so it's not for the fire station, it's for the fire service. And why can't you get that right? And now at least you put in here that the UUT is irregularly utilized to cover public safety costs. Yet, as I said last month, you didn't use a dime to offset that cost from that, but now you admit it, that it's used for that purpose, but you didn't do it. And then you put in here that it's constitutional and certain amendments were required. It says, it says it's rescinded. And the whole thing here still lacks a thing about opting in, opting out. And as I read your thing, and as I said, I got 5 minutes to read it, so I don't really have it all, that you get to be part of it if you pay. How do you pay? How do you know? Is it opt in, opt out? How does somebody get into this? I don't read this in there. And it says the date the payment is made and the enrollment shall run through the end of the current term. Who's going to be in it? Now you got the costs, and that's another issue that I have with you people, is that it's rescinded and that the cost that you set forth on June the 2nd was based on Ordinance 187. 187 no longer exists. The predicate for the cost is based on 187. 187 doesn't exist. You have no cost based on this new ordinance. As far as I can see, I don't know how you can tell who's going to pay. Who are you going to tell? How are you going to tell the county who's going to pay? Because the opt-out is gone. It's got to be opt-in. Are you going to get people? We have this cumbersome process. If you want to opt out, you got to do this, you got to do this, do this, do this. How do you get in? How does this say you get in? And I just ask you a question. You read it. I read it. I don't say how it doesn't say how you get in. It says you get in by paying. You only pay if we notify you. And no one's notified you except the opt-outs. Everybody else is an assumption. So this doesn't answer all the questions that I see, especially when the whole thing is rescinded. And how you can go back and say now the fees are that way.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, can you, I think Mr. Zeitz brings up some points. Can you address them, please?
Absolutely, and certainly appreciate Mr. Zeitz hanging with us till the end here to ask his questions. So I would say, first off, I want to address a misstatement or misunderstanding that Mr. Zeitz has. Mr. Zeitz said a couple times that ordinance number 187 was rescinded. That is inaccurate. The plaintiffs in this case sought to rescind ordinance 187. They sought to rescind the resolutions that established the fees that are charged to the residents, and they were unsuccessful in both of those counts. There are two subsections of the overall ordinance that were required to be amended. I went over those as we talked about earlier. The plaintiffs fought hard. They fought the fees that were established by the city council. They could not establish that those fees were improper in the amount. They tried. And I know that that's been something that's been discussed before. You know, we've had members of the public say that the fee, you know, was calculated incorrectly. The plaintiff's law firm are quality attorneys who fight fee and tax cases all over the state. They could not find a legal argument that this judge would accept that that fee was set at an improper amount. And they also did not get the entire ordinance overturned. They got 2 subsections of it overturned. Addressing the other issues that Mr. Zeitz brought up, I think one of the biggest concerns he had was, how do you participate in the program? You know, one of the things is, I believe the ordinance is pretty straightforward in how you participate in the program, if you would like to participate in the program, and that is in 3.44030 C2, which I know Mr. Zeitz read because he was quoting from it. Just like any other city program, if you want the service, then you get it by paying for that service. So in this case, the collection method was not struck by the court. So any person who is enrolled in the program will still pay in the manner of providing it to the county. That's still in the ordinance. It wasn't struck by the court. And any other person who wants to opt in at a time when we can't go through that process, because we can only do that before August 10th of each year. So, you know, someone moves to Canyon Lake in October and they want to participate in the program, they can pay in any of the other legally accepted methods that the city accepts payment. So there have been people who have opted into the program outside of the, you know, the property tax methodology we have, and I'm sure they just, wrote a check?
Yep.
So it's pretty straightforward in that sense. In terms of, you know, who's in and who's out, the language of C4 goes through that very clearly. Those who have terminated their subscription are out. Those people will be notified. People who are participating will be notified. Every person we know of in this city is going to get a letter from the city saying, you're on this side of the line or you're on this side of the line, and if you don't want to be where you're at, all you have to do is tell us. We'll move you. And then heck, let's say you ignore that letter and you get charged something that you didn't want to get charged. Maybe you didn't want to be out, but you got charged the response fee. We even threw in an appeal process for you, so you get your second bite of the apple. We are trying to make this as user-friendly for our residents as possible, with a focus on, you know, the response fee is a big fee. We don't want to surprise somebody with it. We don't want someone to get it and go, what is this? I've never heard of this program before. At least not be able to say that, you know, with a straight face. We need to be able to say, we tried to give you notice as best we could. So I think that addresses all of them. In terms of the question regarding the stats on the budget in the staff report, I mean, the budget numbers are what they are from those years. You know, Mr. Zeitz, I believe, you know, has a point regarding, you know, whether the station was open or not. Regardless, that's how fire services were being provided by this community at the time. And I think that this council has dealt with this fire issue long enough that you have seen what the escalation of costs has been for the provision of fire services in this community since its inception. It had a fire structure fee when we incorporated, that was transferred to this community. It used to go straight to the county, and they just used it to pay for county fire service. They didn't send us a bill, right? And then at some point, I think it was around 2010, the county, realizing that this source of revenue did not actually cover the cost of providing the service, started sending that money to you and then billing you for the total. And ever since that happened, that difference between those two has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. With your EMS subscription program, it's designed to be revenue neutral regardless of whether people decide to participate or don't. If every single person in this community said, you know what, City of Canyon Lake, we appreciate you attempting to help us with the subscription program, but we're just going to pay as we go. The amount of the EMS response fee was calculated to be revenue neutral. We would just charge every single person that got the services, and that would equal the balance of the costs. If every single person here said, it's a great program, love it, I'm participating, it would be revenue neutral there too. And then every year you have the opportunity to set it. So if for some reason there's some quirk where it's not balancing out right, you would have that opportunity. I believe this year you looked at it, chose not to change the fee because it would have gone up. And you didn't see the need to do that at this point. So I think that addresses all of the concerns. I don't know if I missed any, Mayor.
Okay. Okay, so then at this point, I am looking for two things. The first one would be a motion and a second to adopt the urgency ordinance, and then after that, we'll move on to the second one.
I'll make a motion to adopt the urgency ordinance number 208.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Councilmember Green?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Castillo?
Aye.
Motion carried to adopt urgency ordinance number 208.
I would also need a motion and a second to approve the introduction and first reading of ordinance 209.
I'll make the motion to adopt the ordinance 209, Canyon Lake Municipal Code.
Second?
Second.
Okay. And I would need a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Councilmember Green?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Castillo?
Aye.
Motion carried to approve the introduction and first reading of ordinance number 209, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Canyon Lake, California, amending Chapter 3.44 of the Canyon Lake Municipal Code related to the Emergency Medical Services Subscription Program and Emergency Medical Services Response Fee.
Okay, thank you. So we are moving on to item number 7. This is a resolution. I believe the city manager will introduce the item.
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. This is simply a budget adjustment in front of you to get some budget authority to pay an invoice. You may recall in 2019, as part of our ongoing efforts to find ways to reel in our quickly escalating public safety costs, the City of Canyon Lake joined with 6 other cities to do a feasibility study on looking at the possibility of forming a joint powers authority for the provision of police services. We were actually approached by the City of Lake Elsinore, who asked us to join with them and the other cities in this effort. The cities involved at that time were Jurupa Valley, Lake Elsinore, Moreno Valley, Palm Desert, San Jacinto, Temecula, and Wildemar. The city of Palm Desert ended up backing out of the study, and then we joined in. At the time, we were told to expect our share of those costs to be approximately $15,000, and the study was to last 4 to 6 months. Unfortunately, COVID hit, and as a result, the consultant who was doing this study, which was Citygate, ran into some significant delays. And so in 2019, staff came to you with this item to ask if the council would like to join this effort. Council opted in, and at that time approved a budget adjustment, and I believe it was for $15,804, which was the estimate at that time. Well, the approval of that budget adjustment was for that fiscal year, and now we are 2 fiscal years later, and we finally received the invoice. The study was was completed in February of this year, and Lake Elsinore sent out the invoices a couple weeks ago, and so I need a new budget approval. The good news is the cost came in less than what was originally projected. It came in at $12,770.68. The bad news is The conclusion of the study was that it would be more expensive to provide police services through this JPA model than through contracting with the Sheriff's Department. You may have read some comments in a recent Press Enterprise article that were made by your city manager, expressing an opinion on the quality of the study. Really, I was disappointed in the lack of creativity in the study and the lack of any attempt to tailor services to the needs of each individual city. Really what was done is they took the same model that the Sheriff's Department uses and they just applied that to this group of cities. So if you're doing the same exact thing you were doing before, but you do it on a smaller scale, so you lose economies of scale, then of course it's going to be more expensive. So I was not pleased with the methodology there of the study. Nevertheless, I think it's a good example of how this council is always looking to find ways to provide services at the best possible price for your residents. So with that, just looking for approval for this budget adjustment so that we can pay the invoice.
I do have a couple questions. I've received questions recently about what exactly a JPA is. I had a resident reach out to me. Would you mind just giving a brief summary? And then secondly, my understanding is that this particular JPA was spread out all over the county.
Yes.
Okay, so.
It's unusual.
Right, so can you maybe discuss a little bit about why that seems not very feasible for, I mean, that just sounds like the Sheriff's Department again, right?
On a smaller scale, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think it's a challenge when you're trying to provide a service and you're so geographically spread out and not necessarily even contiguous, you know. A JPA is a joint powers authority, very common in California where multiple cities or government entities join together and form one legal entity that each of those individual entities has representation on to provide a certain function. So a good example is the JPA that the city belongs to in relation to our animal shelter. Right? So we're a member of a JPA with a number of other cities. We all pool our resources and we go in together on providing that service to all of our residents, and we share the costs, and each city has a seat on that board. So we send a member of this council to serve on that JPA board to direct the actions of that entity. Lots of examples of that all throughout the county.
So there's a big difference between the policing needs in Canyon Lake and, say, Moreno Valley?
I would say so, yes.
Okay. Part of the study, right? Okay. Anyone else have questions about this? Anyone have comments about this? So what I'm looking for at this point is we need to adopt the resolution. So I would be looking for a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 2021-34.
Excuse me, motion to adopt Resolution 2134.
I'll second.
Thank you. And for the record, we have no public comments on this item.
Oh,
Thank you.
all right.
Thank you.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Councilmember Green?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Castillo?
Aye.
Motion carried to adopt resolution number 2021-34.
And just for my edification, we are sending a check to the city of Lake Elsinore?
Yes, the city of Lake Elsinore fronted all of the costs and then is invoicing the other participating cities for reimbursement. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 8, designation of voting delegates for the League of Cities Annual Conference.
I will be taking this item. So every year, the League of California Cities has its annual conference. This year, the conference is going to be held in Sacramento. It's going to be September 22nd through the 24th. Every year, the city has to designate a voting delegate and an alternate to represent the city during the business meeting portion of the conference. So tonight, we're asking that the council designate who you want as your voting delegate and 1 or 2 alternates as well.
I believe in the past, it was Councilmember Aaron Krantz and Mayor Pro Tem.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
The conference is in
Sacramento,
Sacramento,
so,
and it is in person
Yeah.
this year.
So-
Also, I know because I looked this afternoon, it's going to be the convention center, which is attached to the Hyatt. It's, so the Hyatt and the Sheraton are kind of the 2 main hotels close by. They're both booked for those dates, so.
So you're going to have to stay out of town.
You might have to stay a little farther out, yeah.
Yeah. So I think the mayor, is the mayor planning to go?
The mayor is looking at her calendar. I, for some reason, thought it was virtual.
No, it is in person. We do have budgeted this item. We typically budget for council to go, so we would take care of all of your travel needs and booking and all that. But it is in person this year.
So in the past when we went, the entire council went, but there were voters? Or, how does it, I don't know how this works in post-COVID.
The ones I've been involved with was, a lot of times the entire council went, like when it was held in Long Beach,
Yeah.
as an example. But the delegates to vote was usually the mayor and whoever was the alternate, and the alternate a lot of time was the vice mayor or Mayor Pro Tem, excuse me. And, but that obviously when Jordan was mayor too, though, so that's kind of how it kind of fell into but my experience is it's always been the mayor. If the mayor was going, if not, then their designee.
Yeah, I think this is the first time in the time that I've been here that the conference has been held in Sacramento. I don't recall it being up north. So typically, as Councilmember Green mentioned, the council, we pay for the registration. Council's welcome to attend, but we just need to make sure that, the delegate or alternates are there to represent, which the business portion of the meeting is typically held that Friday. So we would just have to ensure that the voting delegate is present for that portion of the conference.
Okay.
That means you're last to leave.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That was one thing that Jordan always mentioned. He was the last one to leave when he
Last to
stayed
leave.
for
And I
them,
mean,
so.
you're the last, everybody's
Yes.
gone.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I am clear.
Okay, good.
Anyone else?
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem is clear?
I'm good with the mayor and the mayor pro tem being the delegate and the alternate. Works for me.
Yeah, I think it's what we've kind of had established, so, and this time it's not virtual, it's real, so.
Yeah, my only reservations was if it was going to be virtual, then no. But since it's in person, that's where I live.
And it is a good, I will say for those who haven't attended, it is a great conference for the networking and for talking to vendors and other cities, and they have an array of conferences that are going on, both from certification standpoints to legal to if you've got an issue about something in your city, sometimes they have open forums that allow you to not to say the city, but to express what your concerns are, and they have a legal team that can answer it. So it's really what I'll call a California Good Networking program.
Okay. Any public comment on this item?
No public comments on this item.
Okay, so we'll need a motion and a second to approve myself and Mayor Pro Tem Smith as the voting delegate and alternate.
I'll make the motion that the mayor is the delegate and that the mayor pro tem is the alternate.
Thank you.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Dane? Aye. Councilmember Green?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Castillo?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Okay. Whoa, what time is it? 9:14. And we are on item number 9, which is our fire department startup update by our Fire Chief Jeff Latendress. Hello.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Mayor, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, Jeff Latendrich, your interim fire chief. So we're 5 months in, we got 6 more months to go. We continue to make progress. We continue to move forward. We continue to reach out to our partners and our stakeholders out there and have those meetings. And today I got some good things to report on. First off, 4th of July, I was part of the planning meeting along with the Sheriff's Department, the Fire Department, and the POA, and attended all of the meetings in preparation for the city taking over for next year. And so I was out there on the 4th of July at 7 o'clock in the morning, got the boat ride out to Skipper's Island, went through the inspection process with CAL FIRE and the pyrotechnic company, Pyro Spectacular. And later on that night, I got an opportunity to see one of the best fireworks show I've got to see in a long time. So it was really an honor, and that in itself, though, was making those connections, establishing those relationships, and learning and preparing for when the city takes over on January 1st. Today was also another great day because we posted all of our job announcements. And so we went out on public social media. We have in the fire service, just like all those other specialty jobs, certain websites, certain forms that we use to release this. We contacted government jobs. We contacted perfect firefighter candidate. We contacted Daily Dispatch, and we sent everything out. And so all 5 of our positions are out there. There's been some discussion that who are we going to get? What are our standards going to be? The standards are now out there visible for everybody. I just want to take a minute to talk about them. So battalion chief. Battalion chief is a manager in the fire department. We are looking for an experienced manager to help lead this organization. That person will need to have at least 10 years of 10 years of fire department experience, needs to have at least an associate's degree, and hopefully they'll have a chief officer certification, but a minimum of a fire officer certification. That is industry standard for anybody who's promoting into those positions in just about any fire department out there. For a fire captain, that person needs to have at least a fire officer certification, again, a statewide certification, industry standard, and at least 5 years experience in a full-time fire department. We would prefer that that person have a degree, and we would prefer that that person also have a chief officer cert. So those are what we call some of the desirable requirements that we're looking for. For a fire engineer, this is the person that drives the fire engine. We're looking for a person that has a required license from the state of California. They have to have a fire academy. They have to be either an EMT or a paramedic. And we would prefer that this person have 2 years of experience in a full-time fire department. The lowest level, the entry-level position is a firefighter paramedic. And really what we're looking from them is that they have a fire academy and their paramedic license from the state of California. The last positions are volunteer positions, or what we call our reserve firefighters. They're not city employees, and all they need is a fire academy and an emergency medical technician certification. Again, these are standard requirements that you'll see in just about every fire department in Southern California. So I believe our standards are as hard as anyone else's or as easy as anyone else's. So they're out there today, and we've already received a lot of activity, phone calls, emails, and comments on the social media site. So it's a positive thing that we're seeing that. In addition, though, once they go through that process to become a successful applicant, they have to first go through the paper screening. We're going to look at all their applications and compare them to everybody else. Then we're going to invite the top qualified candidates to participate in a written test. That's going to be the same for every position. They'll have a different written test, but they're all going to go through a different written test. Paramedics are going to have to go through a skills assessment, what we call a mega code. We're going to give them a scenario, and we're going to watch them perform on mannequins and ensure that their skill set is something that we want to have working in our community. They're going to have to participate in at least one oral interview against an oral interview panel that will consist of their peers. They're going to have to go through a background investigation, a medical examination, and then finally complete an orientation training academy before they will come on board January 1st. So we're right on time with that, and again, it was an exciting day to get that part moving. Next item is we've secured a medical director from a local emergency room here in the Riverside County area. I hope to get that process to you for tonight's meeting, but I wasn't able to get everything ready in time. So at your next council meeting, you will have basically a contract to approve to engage in our medical director. That medical director, though, is well-respected here in Riverside County. Things that medical director is going to do for us is to go to assist with our advanced life support or our paramedic application with REMSA, which is the Riverside County Emergency Medical Services Agency. They're going to help us establish our policies and procedures for the fire department, for the paramedics and the EMT. They're going to help establish our CQI, or continuous quality improvement, our bloodborne pathogen programs, and any pilot programs that might be administered by the county. They'll provide on-site oversight of our EMS program. They'll assist with the medical evaluations of our firefighters and our fitness program for our firefighters, and they'll serve as a department liaison with the medical community. So again, really exciting to lock that in. Very reputable person, and I'm sure when you see his CV, when I come before you next time, that you'll be very impressed on who he is. The next part of it we've been working on, we have a budget now as of July 1st, so I started spending some of that money, and I've contracted with a company called Lexipol. Lexipol in the police and fire communities is a top-notch organization that provides online programs that's state-specific and fully customizable that will provide policies and procedures for our new fire department that are updated in response to new state and federal laws and court decisions. This program will deliver courses and video designs to meet both the fire and EMS training mandates that we will have. The firefighters will receive monthly online training classes on policies and procedures, and all of that will be documented automatically, so we'll be able to retrieve it and show what documentations and what programs we have. The program delivers over 200 specific policies that are generic but state-specific in nature, and then when we get them here, what we will do is we will go through and make them Canyon Lake Fire Department policies and procedures. It's utilized here in Riverside County by both the Cathedral City and Palm Springs Fire Department, and the law enforcement side is utilized by several law enforcement agencies, including the Hemet Police Department. Finally, we just got this notice this morning. I am proud to announce that the city was awarded a grant from Firehouse Subs in the amount of $29,280.45. This Firehouse Subs sandwich shop gives out grants to first responder organizations throughout the nation on a quarterly basis. This quarter, they gave out 120 grants. They gave out over $2.5 million worth of grants to the different departments. It was our first time applying, and we got the grant the first time. It's a specific, thank you, it's specific in the funding. It will get us 4 self-contained breathing apparatus, 8 bottles, the mask, the voice amplifiers, and what we call a RIT, or a Rapid Intervention Team kit, that we carry on the fire engine that can be utilized if a firefighter goes down. We carry this bag in with us. We can make connections on these self-contained breathing apparatus to resupply their air supply, special tools to help extricate the firefighter and get them out of the building. And it's pretty exciting that we got it. It will allow us to utilize our Type 6 fire engine. We'll put the 4 breathing apparatus on our Type 6 fire engine, so we'll be able to use that multi-purpose vehicle, not just on wildland fires, but as we always wanted to make it a support vehicle on use for structure fires. So that's my presentation tonight. I'm available if you have any questions.
Okay.
Just sounds good. Like you've done a lot of work and great work. Thank you.
We've been busy, and we're going to get busier.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Just one question about the interviews of the people. You said that they're going to be interviewed by a panel of their peers, but since we don't have anyone yet, who are their peers going to be?
So the fire service is very generous in sharing resources. So I will go out, and I will fortunately get to sit on every interview, So we'll have a representative from the city, and then we will reach out to neighboring fire agencies and invite at least one rank higher individuals from those fire agencies to come and assist us on that. For the management position of the battalion chief, the city manager is going to participate in that interview panel also. But for the paramedics, we will get probably a nurse educator or somebody along that line, or a firefighter or an engineer paramedic from one of our neighboring agencies. For the engineers, we'll probably have captains on the panel. For the captains, we'll probably have battalion chiefs on the panel. So we're always looking to step it up one above those, and the fire service shares those resources. And in the relationships that we've already been working on, we've already got verbal commitments of agencies that will lend us their people. In return, we'll get to do the same thing when we get our department up and running in 6 months.
Go ahead.
I have a couple questions, Chief.
Yes, sir.
First of all, the medical director, are we co-sharing it with any other city, or is he solely ours?
We are co-sharing, and it is not a full-time position.
Okay, good.
It is someone who is available to us essentially 20 hours a month.
Okay. Number two, nurse educator. You mentioned just a minute ago, I didn't hear anything. Is that going to be part of your budget? I doubt if he will be doing, if it's a he or she medical director. Usually they don't, I mean, they do the QA and stuff, but you're going to have, are we going to do an online, or are we going to actually have availability through RIMSA for online training or on-site training?
We will be purchasing a computer program that will provide the vast majority of the continuing education hours that
Okay.
will be needed for both the paramedics and the EMTs.
So that's how they do their skills. And
We will also be utilizing a neighboring fire department's nurse educator on occasion to assist us in setting up the department, but we will probably not be having our own nurse educator for the department.
Okay.
Some places do have full-time nurse educators. For our call volume and the number of paramedics, we'll
Sure.
probably reach out and contract, and we do have funding in the budget for that.
Perfect. And lastly, and it just went south on me. I believe each county has a certification for their medics, correct? You have the state certification or the national cert, and then you
It's what they call being accredited to practice in the county.
For the county. So are we, in our selection process, are they going to come with that cert, or are we going to provide them with the opportunity to obtain the cert while they, if they're already a medic?
The requirement for firefighter, paramedic is they already hold the state license.
Okay.
So they have to come here with that state license.
What about RIMSA?
And then we will work with them to become accredited into the county to practice. We also have to do that with all of our EMTs too. All the EMTs have to be accredited to practice also.
Okay, I didn't mean to put you on the spot,
Nope.
but.
That's good. That's
because
already
I was asked that specific question, because there is a couple of outside people that are nationally certified, but I said, we're in Riverside County, which each county has a cert.
Do not have reciprocity with National Registry. And so the job descriptions and job announcement, the minimum requirement for a paramedic was a paramedic license.
Okay.
And then we will work with all of those agents, all those individuals, both as EMTs and paramedics, to become accredited to practice in the county. That's part of the application that the medical director will work on, is we have to show to REMSA what our plan is on how we're going to do that. And in our orientation academy, that will be 3 to 4 weeks before they start, that's where they'll get that training and so forth.
Great, thank you.
I just have 2 comments. First, congratulations on the grant.
Thank you.
That's a big deal. The second comment is, in my day job, I deal with Lexipol every day. It's expensive, but it's worth it, and I think that that was a good choice in making sure that we are standardized where we need to be and tailored where we also need to be. So thank you for that.
Where I worked previously, I was trying to get it in there, and there was a lot of pushback on getting it in there because you have your pre-existing policies. We're actually lucky to be able to start from the very beginning and build all of these policies. And so I believe, from a time constraint perspective and all of that, this is the best decision that we can make of using Lexipol for our policies and procedures.
And it's not hard to update it and continuously modify it to our needs, so that's good.
And if there's any new mandates that come in, they notify us of them, they write the policies, and then we just incorporate them.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else?
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
I would just like to add, Madam Mayor, that we're in the new fiscal year now. So just kind of wanted to warn you to brace yourself. We will start seeing a flurry of spending on the fire department in the coming weeks and months. It will come fast and furious now. So,
And the majority of those are one-time startup costs?
yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Lexible's expensive.
Well, and we're also, I'm sure in the chief's reports, we have startup costs and we have operating costs.
Yes.
So we're in the throes of startup right now.
Yes. Yeah, up to this point, it's been a lot of planning, a lot of budgeting. The council's approved the budget for the fire department startup and for the city for the upcoming year. And now it's time to pull the trigger on all of those things. And so Chief's going to have a little bit of fun here and start spending the budget.
Spending to save.
That's right, spending to save.
Okay. City manager comments?
Just a couple of things. I need to inform the council that yesterday, our administrative services manager, Mike Borak, came into my office and notified me that he was putting in his 2 weeks' notice. Thankfully, he was pulling my leg. He about gave me a heart attack. So I wanted to pay that forward.
I was about ready to go grab him. Can't leave, Michael. You're being a traitor. Were you going back to Adelanto?
He almost had me too. Oh my gosh.
I would never say such a thing.
Councilmember Dana is not used to
This is a professional group. I mean.
No, really. The only thing I have tonight is a suggestion that the council go dark for the meeting that would otherwise be in August. Historically, the council has gone dark 1 month in the summer, usually July or August. Last year, we went dark in August. We weren't sure yet, because of everything that's going on, if we would have that luxury this year. It does not appear at this point that there is anything that cannot wait until the September meeting. If that changes and there is something that is time-sensitive enough, and we could always call a special meeting, but at this moment, it doesn't look like that'll be necessary. So it's up to the council, but staff recommendation is that the council go dark in August. So just like some kind of consensus on that, if that is what
Yeah, I don't have an
the council would
issue with
like
it
to
as long as
do.
there's
Yeah.
nothing coming up for the fire
No,
department.
I don't either, and it gives me a chance to maybe enjoy something that I just recently happened to me.
No objection then?
Okay,
So we're
then
okay.
we will schedule the next meeting for the first Wednesday in September.
Everyone go on your dispensary field trip during the month of August. Okay. Council comments, 3 minutes each with the gavel, to be fair. Councilmember Dane.
You won't need to gavel me. Promise. It's been an eventful couple of weeks. I really just wanted to thank everybody for welcoming me and being supportive, and the orientation that I had has just been great. So I appreciate every one of you welcoming me. And I attended a couple events, went to the Animal Friends of the Valley Nonprofit of the Year celebration. That was nice. And the Veterans Rec that they did on Saturday. So good to participate in those. And I appreciate it, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Green?
Oh, I won't take 3 minutes, I'm going to take 15. No, very simple. We had the vets, which was it really turned out very well. There was 4 of us there, and it showed support from the city, and we came back here to the memorial, and they had a presentation, which was very nice. So I thought it's a good event. It'll probably be an event that will be annual and probably grow as all Canyon Lake events do. But I wanted to give a shout out to our city staff and our city council for the support, because we got the feedback I got feedback from each of the people for us being there. So that was a good turnaround. I did a public service announcement on the illegal use of fireworks and the enforcement side from the sheriff and the PIO from the county, and I think we had more fireworks, but I don't know. Anyway, I think it was, but it is a area issue. It's not just Canyon Lake's issue. My concern is we've got folks that have access to commercial stuff, and that's going to create a problem for us one day down the line, because they don't have fallout zones, and obviously those who had attended the fireworks show see that's why the island is surrounded by boats to keep people from getting caught in that. So I don't know, maybe there's going to be something we can do next year, because I don't think the fireworks is going to slow down. I know they're doing a lot of apprehension from the fire side and from law enforcement side on stuff that's coming in from all over outside of California, and it's being wholesaled out of here. So it's just a regional issue. RCA meets next Monday. So again, we haven't gone back live. We're going to do it virtual. Probably live, if it's going to take place, will be either, I don't know if we're going to go dark August, but probably be live next, because I believe RTA is going to go live. So that's coming up. We did, the chief, Mike, and I were going to go to the disaster prep meeting, and they showed up. I was on my way. Mike calls me. They canceled it, and so they showed up, and nobody was here. So outside of that, it was a great month, and a lot of good things have happened, and just great to be here.
I really am not trying to be crazy with the gavel. Councilmember Welty?
It was quite the meeting today. It was very interesting to see the community input. I was a little surprised that it was kind of all one direction, but it's great to hear from the community, and I think that some issues that we really particularly have to listen carefully to, because they're more social and cultural than they are, say, financial or safety. So it was great to see the turnout. The other thing is, it was a great 4th of July. I got to see the fireworks up close and personal. Last year, we had the grandbaby, so we had to stay way back. I felt like I was missing a lot of it, but this year the fireworks are great. I felt that the members of the citizens behaved themselves very well considering other years, so I just want to say that was great. I attended my first vector control committee. We voted on the budget. Of course, it's mosquitoes and rats are a minor issue until it comes to health. And because they carry diseases and that impacts the way we live, it is kind of a big deal. Hopefully I can bring you more information later. I did attend to the Animal Friends of the Valley. The live rate was impressive, what they call the number of animals they get out of the shelter. And I think that the dogs, it was about 90% of the dogs that go in go out alive. When they first opened, it was more like 30%. So if you're looking for a fuzzy friend, they have a handful, and head on down. So again, that was a great organization, a great event. So thank you. I'll be short too.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Yes, I'll be quick. Couple announcements in regards to RCTC. Announcement just came out today in regards to downtown Riverside, the 91, the 215 area. It's going to be closed Saturday night leading into Sunday morning, so just be prepared for that. It's going to be a busy weekend for RCTC up and down the 15 freeway too. They're going to be doing a bunch of construction on different ramps, so just be mindful of this upcoming weekend. In regards to RTA, we had our cash flow projections today, and we are doing very well. COVID, although our ridership is tremendously low, we continue to get federal grant funds to pay our way through public transportation, so that's exciting. Other than that, Canyon Lake, exciting place to be over 4th of July. It's pretty incredible to see the community come together, and we're so blessed to have such an amazing fireworks show, as the chief got to see for the first time, I'm sure. And it's just an amazing community, and I'm so blessed to be a part of it. So thank you for the time.
Okay, thank you. First off, I wanted to thank the Property Owners Association for a great 4th of July and fireworks show. We have a lot to be proud of in Canyon Lake. Like my other council members, I attended the Canyon Lake Veterans and First Responders First Annual Independence Day Ruck. I'm grateful to city staff for finding the various military branch flags, because at our water station, we were able to wave those flags as the walkers or marchers came by, and it was a really neat thing to see. Great pictures from the Canyon Lake Insider. Also, I wanted to say thank you to the Water District and Vice President Burke for donating the water for the marchers. That was great, and it was a really nice event. So good job to that club. Wanted to say thank you to Councilmember Dane and Welty for going to the Animal Friends event, and thank you to Councilmember Green for handling the executive committee meeting for WRCOG. I know that we need to schedule a meeting to meet with the new executive director. I'm just continuously thrilled to be part of this community and this council. I know we have a lot on our plate. I'm grateful to all the citizens who came out to the council meeting. I'm also grateful to those who have contacted me, myself, in terms of email or direct calls. I had people come to our coffee meeting today, and to see the community engagement is great. So we continue to welcome that type of feedback. With that being said, it looks like our next regular meeting will be in September 1st at 5 p.m. for closed session, 6:30 for open session, and we will, also thank you to the Little League for coming. I meant to ask them to do the Little League pledge, and I got wrapped up, and now I'm like really mad that I forgot to do that, because it is really the most inspiring thing if you haven't heard it. So if you know a Little Leaguer, I encourage you to ask them to recite the pledge for you, because I know for a fact that every Canyon Lake Little Leaguer knows it by heart. So, sorry, that was my bad. At 9:42, we are adjourned.